Father's love 3. I have already tried to contain that dark grudge in him before, but it's clear the method I used is not useful in the end. If this continues, then he will become a creature of carnage, only knowing how to kill and nothing more. Song explains, his brow furrowing deep and hard. As a woman and as a grandmother, Bai Ning felt great pain that someone so young would have to endure such struggles. This little guy is only 7. Why must he bear so much pain on his shoulder? Here, help me take care of Xiachen for a bit. After handing the boy over to the grandmother, Song then strode towards his wife in light steps across the grass. Due to the sun being directly above the group because of the hour, the light only made that peerless contour of the woman's face even more magnificent. But this wasn't the only attracting feature for the Demon King. That bump along the woman's belly was a huge eye-catcher which brought him to the knees. Under normal circumstances and logically speaking, after Bai Yen suffered this much damage to her body, she should have lost the baby inside already. However, in the moment where his hands reached down to touch the fetus, a golden light glowed from within the womb and wowed the troubled husband. Naturally, finding the unborn baby safe and sound was a glorious news to the anticipating father, but he's also worried but grateful at the same time. There's an unknown force protecting the fetus. It's abnormal and a sign of greater power at play, and that was something he couldn't control. I will take my wife back to rest first. My subordinates will come later to retrieve the rest of you later. Bai Ning was taken aback at first over that message, but she quickly nodded after coming to the fact that it's for the best. Please take care of Yenner then. Not replying, Song first gazed down to the sleeping beauty in his arms before showing a faint smile of comfort. She is my wife. I will of course love her with my all and take care of her. This attitude from her son-in-law had left Bai Ning befuddled with complex emotions. Originally she didn't like this man when he appeared, but after witnessing how far he would go for her own daughter, the grandmother could deny her view has changed. She's starting to accept him from the hearts down. Does your shoulder need tending to? The lady asks after noticing the blood still trickling out of the wound. Casting a look down at his own shoulder, a cunning smirk escaped the dastardly Demon King. This injury won't hinder my movement, so it's fine to leave it as is. Once Xiachen wakes up, I will tell him this is done by him. Knowing his personality, my boy will feel guilty and remorseful. By then I can use that as a threat to make him stop competing for Yenner's attention with me. Bai Ning couldn't stop the twitching in the corner of her own mouth after hearing that ridiculous reasoning. Competing for Yenner's attention with me? Is he seriously jealous of his own son? Nevertheless, Bai Ning's tense heart did ease up after hearing how relaxed the man was in the way he spoke, showing a soft smile of her own. Then hurry and bring Yenner back to rest. I will first deal with the matters here before taking Xiachen back with me to find you. After that, Song wasted no time and disappeared from the valley, his figure gone and out of view in an instant. Father's love 4. Turning around to meet the scum's face after the Demon King had left with her daughter, Bai Ning's expression was cold and unkind. I remember everything. This sentence instantly sends Ning Yuan into a trembling panic as he stared at that face whom he dreamed for years to have. You erased my memories because I repeatedly rejected you back then. Did it ever cross your mind that this day would come? That said, she then began to walk slowly towards the scum, her steps measured and powerful. Ninger, I only did all that because I love you too much. That's why I did all those things. Love? She scoffs a sarcastic sneer. I rather not have this sort of crazy love from you. Not to mention I have a child and husband. Based on what can you make me forget them and accept you? The downgrading remarks from the lady had left the scum humiliated and shamed, evident by the clenched fist he's making. Even so, Ning Yuan regrets nothing. Since that year where he first lay eyes on Bai Ning climbing up from the cliff in her blood-ridden state, he has fallen heads over heels for her and could never get out of that quagmire. He thought he could get the woman to accept him once she loses her memories, which he believes any love-stricken man would do if they're being rejected as so. However, history has proven him wrong, very wrong. How can you be so cruel to me, Ninger? I offered up so much, paid so much. Ning Yuan's voice trembled with the note of deep scarring pain which pierced straight into his bones. Why should I accept a dark-hearted person like you? Bai Ning unequivocally shuts the scum down. My husband is an honest and upright man in this world. Even if he is not as strong as you, but in my mind, he is a hero, while you are nothing but a wretched little man. While you are nothing but a wretched little man. Her last sentence rumbled like a rolling thunder, blasting the scum backwards. So in her eyes I'm nothing but a wretched little man? How laughable! With his eyes closed, Ning Yuan's face was full of grief and pain until he opened them again. This time he's pleading. Then can you let me go out of consideration for accompanying you for all these years? Ha ha ha! Bai Ning suddenly bursts into a hysterical laughing fit, her voice mad and crazy sounding. Let you go? You ripped my past from me and had me forget my own husband and daughter. Why should I let a bastard like you go who stole all those precious moments from my life? But if things hadn't gone this way today, I might have spared your life out of concern for you, but you killed her, then tried to kill my flesh and blood as well today. Which part of your behavior warrants mercy? Tell me which part. No! Ning Yuan stumbles another step back, his head shaking like he's refusing reality. The ones who wanted to hurt your daughter is the Celestial Palace? I'm innocent. Innocent? She chuckles with an icy note. If not for you, would they have known to come here and ambush us? If not for you, would Yuer be dead? If not for you, would my daughter's life be in peril? And if not for you, would my grandson have been provoked and devolved into that state? Father's love 5. So, the culprit of all this is you. Gritting her teeth, anger burns within the lady's eye as she pounced before the scum could utter more insulting words to defend himself. There's a huge bone-crunching sound when that punch landed along the chest. This punch is for myself. You caused me to forget my husband and child, and you also made them search for me for years. Bang! A huge dent imprinted itself into Ning Yuan's chest now, causing him to spew out blood from the mouth like a sprinkling fountain. This punch is for Yuer. You as a father failed her. Not only did you not properly educate her to be a good person, you also caused her death with your own conceited selfishness. I bet the reason she bullied my daughter is because of you goading her along that path too. Bang! With another punch coming down, Ning Yuan's face of pleading now turns to fear. The following punches are all for my daughter. If it wasn't for you, then she wouldn't have suffered such a severe injury. You will never be able to make up for the damage. That said, the lady's fist rained down like a storm, whisking away and pounding down relentlessly until the last breath was sucked out of the scum's throat. In the end, the bastard meets his end by sheer brute force, a fateful end he never expected for himself. Dragon Flame appeared stunned by the brutality portrayed by Ning's ferocity. It's one thing to beat a man to a pulp, it's another to turn him into mincemeat like an Amazonian huntress. Dragon Flame, Bai Ning retracts her blood-stained fist. Go back and find Dragoni. Take her to Yenner's side. Me and Xiachen will clean up here first before joining them. Giving a slight nod, okay, I will go back first. I also want to see if half Qing Xing fled yet. Just now Bai Yen not only broke the bond between himself and her, she also likely applied it to that snake, so he's very anxious to get back and make that damnable woman pay for all the crap he had to go through in the underground world. Back over in the inn, half Qing Xing didn't run away like some thought she would. Rather, she's sitting there with a dull face like she's mulling over some dilemma, mainly on why Bai Yen would terminate their contract without a single word. Then, without any indication, the door to the room was blown open, rattling from the sheer strength of the knock. Hurrying to get due to the intrusion, the lady didn't know who or what would attack at this time, but she wasn't going to take any chances. However, that old figure reflecting into her eyes sent her hair rising from fright. In the past, there was Bai Yan's contract to keep the old goat at bay and snuffing her life out, but clearly that's gone by this point, meaning there's nothing holding back Dragon Flame from exacting his much-delayed vengeance. Father's love 6. You, what are you going to do? Stalked against a wall with her back, half Qing Xing appeared frantic and afraid at the old goat's menacing face. She uncontracted us already. Why did you not run away? Dragon Flame furrows his brow and asks with a frosty voice after finding the snake still around. Clattering on the teeth. Is it too late if I leave now? The old goat sneered at that. What do you think? The countering question nearly sucked the soul out of the woman's chest. And because of that reasoning, she couldn't utter a single word due to the intense fear. Do you think you can still escape after all the things you did to me over the years? A sinister sneer draws itself into the elder's face as he stared down at the trembling-legged woman. Even if she lets you go, I won't let you. Biting her own lips at the impending future, she musters up the courage to speak. Then what do you want to do to me? Simple. She may have removed the contract on you, but she's still alive and was saved. You will renew the bond with her once we meet up again. Otherwise I will kill you now and be done with this. When he finished saying that, a surge of killing intent filled the old goat's body and turned him into a killing machine. Wide-eyed in surprise, she blubbers out her next words. You? You mean to have me continue my bond with her? Don't you want to be free? This is a rare opportunity for us. Besides, don't you hate her before? Why are you giving up such a good chance? The old goat snorted. I'm not regretting that decision. How about that? I will give you your choices. One to be her servant again, the other is I kill you now. Shuddering at the notion, Ching Sing really struggled with the options because she's being forced to give up her freedom for a second time. However, when confronting with the murderous face of the old goat, the snake lady knew she had no other choice. Thinking up to here, she huffs a breath of frustration and spoke. Fine, I will do it then, not like I didn't serve her before. But I don't understand. Why did she release us in the first place? Shooting a look at the snake, Dragon Flame faintly mutters out his inner thoughts that left her frozen. Perhaps we misunderstood here before. We misunderstood here before? That woman is cunning and sly, but she is indeed not one to go back on her words. Also, she did take us out of that place, though she tied us with that contract. However, I believe she only forced that on us in order to secure her own safety. The old goat then sighed like he's coming to terms with the facts. But when the face of danger, she chose to release us in order to not drag us in with her. From that moment I understood, we've been misunderstanding her. She is a bright and open person, unlike most of those rotten humans out there who would turn on us demons at the closest opportune moment. We're not just shields and tools to her, we're real living beings to her. Such a person is worthy of our admiration. All those positive comments have left Ching Sing silent and confused, her eyes muddled with complex emotions. Truth was, it wouldn't have taken long for the snake to come to the realization of why Bai Yen did all that. But the biased presumption of a human choosing to protect a demon while their own life was in danger still lingered in the lady's head. That's not going to change anytime soon. Right, where's that little dragoness? I promised Madame Bai Ning that I will take her with me. At the beginning the old goat would only address Bai Ning by her name. Never did he call her Madame. However, that's going to change since he's sincerely willing to follow Bai Yen from now on. Giving the woman's mother the title of Madame was adequate and proper, a good sign of loyalty. 3 months, 1. Ching Sing just stood there for a while before answering. That girl was just here a while ago. She should be here still somewhere. Let's go to her room and search. That's all Dragon Flame needed to hear for him to leave this room for the little missies. However, the expected scene of a little girl sitting in the room never came, only empty space and an open window with the sun shining in. It's peacefully quiet without a speck of movement. Frowning at this picture. Where's the girl? Is she not supposed to be here? Hurry and look Ching Sing. She's the woman's lifeblood as well. We can't afford to have anything happen to her. Tensing up inside, the snake demoness felt an incredible level of unease. Okay, let's do that. She promised to take care of the kids while Bai Yen was away. Failing to keep the little steam bun away was already a huge blunder on her part. If she also fails to secure Dragoni's safety, then what did she do right so far? Wait! Dragon Flame calls out right when the snake's about to run out to search. You have always been cunning and sly, so I don't trust you to be alone. Stay with me and we will go together. Right after that statement, Ching Sing's expression could be seen visibly deflated with annoyance. However, She's also urgent to find the little Missy, so she didn't argue with the old goat. Giving her partner a hard stare, she began to examine the room and the corridor for clues of where the girl was. Then that's when they discovered the note left on the table in the room. The content was as following: Gidge, big brother, went to find mother so she and him will be very safe. I don't want to be a baggage, so I'm going off on my own to improve myself. When I grow strong enough, I will return on my own, so please let my mother know. Thank you, Sister Ching Sing. Sincerely yours. Dragoni. After reading it twice over, half Ching Sing's hand had started shaking hard and her complexion paled into a dreary white. There are beads of sweating coming out as well. The last left. Dragonflame also read the note by peeking down from the snake's shoulder. Let's go then. This letter should be enough for us to go back. She won't blame us if the girl herself decides to leave. Hold on. Why are you acting so afraid? Did you do something? The snake demoness was already frightened enough, now to be called out. It's normal for her to spill the bean. She asked me if she was weak before, so I told her the truth. I really didn't think she would run away from home. If we got down to it, I'm responsible for this mess. The old goat didn't make any sly or downgrading comments of the snake's dejected appearance, only showing a frown and musing over the issue. Don't dwell on the matter too much. I can tell the lass left quite a while ago already. What's more, her lineage is not normal. I can tell when it resonated with my own. Perhaps this outing will be a chance for her to grow. Speaking up to here, Dragonflame decides to urge the lady to move it so they could stop wasting time here. Let's go, we can't do much else anyways. I'm sure no one will blame you for this since the note already explained everything. In the old goat's mind, he wants to catch up to Bai Ning before she leaves. If they depart now, then there's still time to meet up. Without another words, that elder's figure was gone and disappeared into sky. 3 month 2. Finding her partner already gone, half Ching Sing had no other reason to stay and quickly followed suit. Demon City. The sky around this settlement seems to be perennially shrouded in gloom lately after the king and queen returned 3 months ago. The event should have been a joyous occasion for these demons who had their ruler return. Sadly, the queen herself had fallen into a coma since, leaving the king sleepless and worried on her bedside. In fact, aside from the young prince and Bai Yan's birth mother Bai Ning, no one could get an audience with Ditsong, not even First Elder, who had been shut out when he sought to meet him. At this moment, inside the exquisite-looking bedchamber, Ditsong's appearance was ragged, with an unkempt beard and eyes sinking in due to the lack of sleep. Yenner, it's already been 3 months. You've been asleep for 3 months. If you don't wake up soon, then our daughter won't be born. Do you not see? Our child is so strong. Even though you suffered so much damage, she didn't leave us. That's her way of telling us she wants to come to this world. For her sake and your own, please return to me. I know you can't bear to make her disappear, right? I won't let anything happen to you, I promise. Even if it costs me my all, I will let you live. Bringing his wife's hand up to his lip, he kisses it gently like some sort of vow on his part. Sadly, such emotional words didn't get any direct response from the sleeping beauty. But that doesn't mean there wasn't any. Right when the pained husband said all that like a summoning spell, the eyelashes around the woman's face clearly fluttered slightly. A clear sign she's reacting to something, just not sure what it was. In the depths of Bai Yan's consciousness, her soul was wandering through an endless void of light like she's searching for something. Mother! Mother! Suddenly, a faint and mild cry came from the rear and drew her attention. Shachin! Finding that adorable and familiar face of her boy, Bai Yan didn't hesitate and ran up to give her son a tight hug. Perhaps it's the condition she's in, or she's just so used to the child's appearance already that she didn't notice. But the Bai Shachin standing there wasn't normal in any way or form. Mother, why did you abandon me? Donning a purple robe with eyes red as a blood moon, there's grief and tear coming out of the boy's existence. You are my precious baby. How can I bear to abandon you? Bai Yan hugs even tighter after hearing those words. You did abandon me because you've forgotten about me. I clearly love you so much, mother. I was looking forward to being with you, so why did you abandon me? The little boy's body shook non-stop after saying that, allowing his tears to freely flow down those cheeks as his hands clutched tightly around Bai Yan's sleeve. "Am I a bad boy? That's why you don't want me?" The more he spoke, the more saddened his voice became until it's starting to get a bit creep to the ear. Then, without any indication, that innocent and cute face transformed. No longer the cuddly and lovable face. It's dark and dry like that of a ghoul, a being full of malice and hate for this world. "Those who want to break us up all deserves to die. I will kill them all. This world doesn't need anyone else. It only needs us." 3 Greatly startled by the change, Bai Yan rigidly but surely loosened her arms around the boy and found what she dreaded and feared the most. There's not an ounce of the playfulness she's come to expect in her own son. There's only bloodthirstiness and death around this creature. But perhaps it's regret, or the guilt. But this mother didn't push the ghoul-like creature away and instead wrapped her arms tightly around the boy's body. Gentle in her voice, "Xiaqin, I failed in protecting you back then and allowed you to leave me. In this life, I promise you, I will not let any danger come your way and not let anyone separate us again. Don't live with resentment and grudge, okay?" The killing intent in the ghoul's eye didn't recede despite the plead, only growing stronger and worse. "No, I'm going to kill everyone in the celestial realm. Everyone must die." Boom! Suddenly, an incredible force explodes out of the child's body, causing Bai Yan to stumble back a few steps and shocking the poor mother. Bai Yan couldn't even recognize her own son anymore at this point. Thankfully, the lady's motherly instinct kicked in and said contrary. Otherwise, she wouldn't be standing here anymore. "Daddy, you're not allowed to hurt Mother." It's then a light gushed out of the ghoul and attacked the red-eyed monster. With the exact same contour but with an energized life to that face. This child had big blue eyes that was clear as a summer day. "Tu Xiaqin?" Bai Yan mumbles to herself in astonishment. "Get lost!" The ghoul version of the little steam bun cries out and raises a punch in self-defense from the other version of himself. "You coward! Can't even protect your own mother. If it wasn't for the fact that I would die if you do, then I would have killed you long ago." "I am not a coward." Light Xiaqin quickly gets up from the ground after being knocked over, his face stubborn. "You will make Mother sad if you do this. I won't let anyone make her sad. Not even myself. If you dare make her leak a drop of tear, then I will destroy myself. By then you won't exist anymore. Will she be sad?" The little ghoul went silent, not saying a word. "But those people made me leave her for so many years. I won't forgive them. What's more, I will make the people of this world pay for the pain I had to endure." Shocked by the two confronting boys that resembled her own son in different ways, one dark and one light, Bai Yan didn't know what to do. But right as she's about to approach the light version, since he gave off a gentler aura, the lady suddenly noticed the glimmer of sadness in the dark version. Immediately, a wave of guilt stopped her in her steps and caused those hands to reach out without thought. At first, the resentment in the ghoul boy's eye still burned with fury, but that changed after the initial stiffness over the physical contact with the woman. Those small little hands also reached out reactively for a hug. However, right when the two's about to embrace each other heartily for comfort, a bloom of light emerges from both the dark and light version of the little steam bun, sending the two away in a blink of an eye. "Xiaqin!" Anxious on the face now, Bai Yan searched everywhere for her child to no avail. There's only emptiness in this space, and the atmosphere was growing increasingly more unusual. It hurts. Crouching down, she clenches her chest at the constant thumping around the heart. She didn't miss the agony and pain the dark version showed. "He must have been lonely with me. 3 months, for..." It's at this precise moment that a golden light fell from above, shrouding and soaking the woman's body in its glow. It's like a spring, refreshing and rejuvenating Bai Yan's injury. And then, a frenzy ensues with her internal energy. The bottom divine middle rank, bottom divine high rank, middle divine bottom rank. Bai Yan appeared dumbfounded on the face as the energy poured into her core. She didn't know why that golden light would give her such huge breakthroughs. What is happening in the outside world? At the same time, back outside in the demon city, The sky has become riddled with thundering rumbles due to the ladies leveling up. It's violent and dangerous, sending all those weaker and afraid fleeing for their lives. Boom! As if called upon, a huge thunder strikes down, shattering the bedchamber in which Bai Yan slept and sending the building shattering into pieces. By the time the demons closest to the palace came back to their senses and realized what has happened, they all rushed for the epicenter in order to investigate. When they did so, all they saw were Ditsong holding that gorgeous queen of theirs in his arms, ignoring the constant attacks from the sky like it's unimportant. The king saved the queen with his own blood. That's the same as transferring an incredible amount of power into the queen. First Elder stood behind crowd and explained, "But why is this happening 3 months later? The blood should have roused this breakthrough long ago if it was effective." "Sire!" A guard hurriedly ran over, his face pale and anxious with sweat. "The prince is awake, but something is wrong with him, like he's lost his mind." Despite the bad news, Ditsong didn't give any reactionary reply to the palace guard, only faintly smiling down at his lovely wife who was still asleep in her slumber. "Yenner, you've been asleep long enough. It's been more than 3 months. If you don't wake up again, perhaps the one to go crazy won't be Shachin, it will be me." Maybe his cry of pain was the final key, but Bai Yan's tightly closed eyes finally began to show signs of movement and began to flutter. Sure enough, as the woman slowly comes to, so did the thundering storm high above their heads disperse. Ditsong. Her murmur was full of infinite tenderness, causing Ditsong to sink even further into his love-stricken state until he couldn't pull out at all. "Yenner, you're finally awake." Lips smiling, the Demon King's hair continues to blow with the wind, only a bit messy and without his original style of finesse. Even so, the woman there didn't mind the unkempt appearance. She only felt pain at his terrible state. Reaching up with her hand to gently touch that burly chin. "How did you become like this? Will you not like me anymore if I'm like this?" "No, I will take you no matter what you become. Whether it be the haggard version of him or the peerless version of him, I will take him as is." That brought on a huge grin to the dumb man's face. He's given her his all, and in return she's willing to accept him as is. Regardless of him being strong or powerful, weak or frail, she would take him still. 3 months, 5. But I am willing to use my best posture and style to accompany you for life. It doesn't matter if you don't mind, Yenner. I still want to look my best around you. Ditsong's sweet words were honey to the ear, leaving those females nearby sour and grouchy from jealousy. "Oh right, I was dreaming just now. I saw 2 Zyakins in there arguing with each other. One is the Shachin who always accompanied me, the other is one I never met before. It hurts me inside when I saw him like that, saddened and angry." Ditsong's hand stalled for a second when the topic was brought up. It's obvious he knows the reasoning and why such a creature would appear in his wife's dream. "You know what's going on, right?" Bai Yan catches on and pressed for an answer. It took a while for the protective husband to reply, but he did, and it wasn't pleasant. "Do you still remember that dream where you died while being still pregnant?" A touch of pain filled the lady's heart at the mention. The child died before he was born, so it left a resenting grudge in his soul. When reincarnated, the grudge will follow him. In other words, Bai Shachin only had 1 soul and not 2 like some would presume, but because of that tragic death in his previous life, the resentment followed suit and created 2 differing personalities. Because of hatred, his strength is abnormally strong, but it's also because of that hatred that he cannot control that part of himself. I originally wanted to use my powers to subdue that wisp of grudge for a while, but, in order to reassure his wife, the man inches closer to act as support. He can no longer be provoked again, otherwise he will lose control completely, tensing up with unease. "Then what are we going to do about Shachin?" "Don't worry, Yenner. That resenting grudge doesn't have a soul of its own, so he can't replace our boy. If he does anything to Shachin, then he too will suffer the consequences. However, I'm only worried about the grudge occupying his body. I have to find a way to make it disappear forever." "Disappear forever?" Bai Yan's complexion went visibly whiter at the notion. She hasn't forgotten the intense pain and grievance in the dark Xiaqin's face when they met. Yenner, I know you're reluctant to do that, but a wisp of grudging resentment doesn't have a soul, meaning it's not an actual life form. If it was otherwise, I wouldn't take this route either. Shaking her head in disagreement, Bai Yan clings onto her husband's sleeve. There must be another way. I saw how much sadness there was in his eyes. How can I abandon him when I couldn't protect him properly before? He's still my child regardless of what he has become. Even if he doesn't have a soul, even if there is no life, even if he's only some sort of resenting grudge, he still called me mother. Seeing the anxious face from his wife, Ditsong knew he couldn't say no. With a faint smile, okay, we will find another way. I'm sure there's some method to please everyone. 3 months, 6? Shook by the amount of love she herself was getting despite not doing as much, Bai Yan's face was all full of guilt and apology. Ditsong, I'm sorry. You don't have to say sorry. I only don't want you to be sad. That's all. For that goal, I'm willing to give my everything for you. Hearing the dialogue between the couple, First Elder, who had originally wanted to speak up, began to hesitate. It's no secret that two souls are unable to occupy a single body. It would create too much conflicting interests, let alone a resenting grudge from a past life. However, that doesn't mean the others here are aware of this fact. Sire? The guard who came earlier to report the little steambun's condition spoke again, his body shaky from discomfort. The prince has lost his mind. Would you like to go see him? Like before, Ditsong didn't pay too much attention to the message that's meant for him, but that doesn't mean Bai Yan wouldn't. Right after the palace guard made that report, the woman immediately jumped down from her husband's arm and shouted, "Why are you still standing there for? Hurry and lead the way." "Yes, Queen." The poor guard complies and wipes the sweat from his face. It's always like this whenever Her Highness is around. The king will ignore the prince and focus only on the queen. Thankfully, Her Highness is a normal mother. Otherwise, the prince will be too pitiful. Inside the room, Bai Xiaqin had calmed down from his rampaging state by this point and was huddling in the corner of his bedside, staring mindlessly at the air like some damaged product. Thankfully, this troublesome picture didn't last long because his ears perked up as soon as they picked up the familiar footsteps he's been so accustomed to. "Mother!" He bolted for the door and nearly crashed right into Bai Yan's body. Fortunately, his eyes were sharp and noticed the big bump along the belly. That made him stop in the nick of time and return to his well-behaved and happy self in the past. Ditsong followed right from behind his wife there. When he saw the wagging tail picture of his son, this biased father couldn't deny he felt a bit of relief from this. The only blemish he had to complain about was the little guy's reddish eye. It's the sign that he's not all right, and this peace was only temporary. Bai Yan, on the other hand, didn't care so much and only knew her boy was safe before her eyes. Bending down, she gives him a huge warm hug without saying anything. "Mother, what's the matter? I can't breathe." Turning red in his little face, the boy was apparently suffocating under those arms. "Just now they said you lost your mind. That scared me to death. Thank goodness you're fine." "Oh, that bastard was trying to take over my body again. I kicked him out as soon as I can because I know he will make you sad, Mother." Under normal circumstances, that pang of resentment wouldn't be able to overcome the real Xiaqin. That was unless he got stimulated by some sort of traumatic event. In that case, anything was up for grabs. Going numb inside, Bai Yan wanted to slap herself for the failure. "Xiaqin, no matter what happens, you will always be Mother's son. You understand? I don't care if it's that version of you or this version, I don't care." "No." The little steam bun unexpectedly shakes his head in refute. "Mother, just now me and that bastard saw you in our dream. He was relatively normal until he took control of my body. I can tell he was very angry and might even hurt you because he won't be able to recognize anyone. I'm afraid he will end up doing something I will regret." Bai Yan had nothing to add to that because she didn't know what to say. Just the memory of that dark version would bring excruciating heartache to the woman herself, especially those sorrowful and sad eyes, pounding and ripping at her inside. "Anyways, Mother, why is your tummy so much bigger as soon as I wake up? Is my sister about to come out?" That said, The boy's contrasting red and blue eyes were sparkling with lustering light like the stars in the sky. 3 months, 6. Only then did Bai Yen notice her own belly, who was much larger than before. Flashing a look of surprise, Di Tsong, how long did I say asleep? 3 months. Di Tsong answers with his gentle voice. This news undoubtedly brought a sigh of relief for the expected mother, because 3 months meant there are still some time before she goes into labor. Imagine not waking up. Then that really would be catastrophic. Promise me, Di Tsong, you must wake me up no matter what happens in the future. I don't want my baby to be in any danger. Tightly holding his wife's hand. Sorry, I failed to protect you? If I had appeared earlier, perhaps Yenner wouldn't have suffered such a serious injury. It's not your fault, Di Tsong. It's me who left by myself, so the fault is not yours. That said, Bai Yen then shifts her attention over to her son. Xiaqin, I'm glad you are safe. If something like this happens again, you must promise me to not come out again. Okay? She cares about that wisp of grudge inside. There's no question about that, but she also equally worried for the main soul. If somehow one overcomes the other, then what was she going to do? Bai Yen couldn't bear to destroy one to save the other. Careful and gentle in his hands, Bai Xiaqin wraps himself around that bulging belly. I will protect you, mother. If not, if I can't do it, then I would rather disappear on my own. Casting his eyes downward in a dejected manner. If only that bastard didn't lose control whenever he takes control of our body. Otherwise I can still work with him. Now the only way to make him sane is to use that method. But it will mean me leaving mother forever. What am I supposed to do? There are tears filling those eyes of his, making the boy look all the more pitiful. Oh, Xiaqin. Leaning down to give her son a hug, Bai Yen didn't notice the abnormality of her son's behavior. You will not disappear. I won't let that happen. Making a huge grin at the promise. Those words were honey to the boy's ear. I am very fond of mother too, so I don't want to leave either. I can't. Besides, the boy still hasn't taken care of his sister yet. What if the other version of himself starts bullying her? So, whether it be for this world or his little sister, the little steam bun didn't have the heart to leave for good. By the way, where's Dragoni? Bai Yen suddenly thought of something which caused her to raise an eyebrow. Normally she would run to me whenever I wake up. How come she's not here? Di Tsong was taken aback by the reminder. According to his memory, the lass hasn't shown herself ever since everyone arrived at the city and came to the newly constructed palace here. The old goat had the answer to the question. Shaky in his tone. She already left. Left? Bai Yan's heart sunk as a look of unease filled the poor lady's eye. You said Dragoni left? Where? She shouldn't have anyone familiar in this place. Dead one? She had already left when I went back to find her. Here's the note from the last that I found. Dragon Flame saw the anxious expression along the woman's face and knew he must explain himself. Taking letter as handed, Bai Yan's complexion went visibly paler after reading its content. Dragoni's gone? How is she supposed to stay safe? This is not the demon realm, there's too many dangers around. Di Tsong, you must send someone to find her. The poor mother's voice rippled with panic and fear, showing how anxious she truly was inside. Hurrying to give his wife a hug to calm her swinging mood. It's okay, Yenner. I will do exactly that. Don't worry too much. That girl's bloodline belongs to that person, so she might not necessarily be in as much danger as you think. Perhaps this outing by herself is a chance for her to grow. You should know by being with us she won't be able to mature. Don't worry? How can I not worry? Dragoni is only a child at heart. Not to mention she's girl. What if some bad people start picking or hurting her? She gets frightened easily. It was not easy for her to find a safe harbor with us after all the grievances she went through since birth. Why would she leave us all of a sudden? Even though Dragoni wasn't her biological daughter, Bai Yen nevertheless treats the girl as her own and never once considered her an outsider. So how could she not be afraid and worried? It's ridiculous to consider otherwise. Then I'll have my people go search right away. Turning around to the palace guards behind himself, Di Tsong snaps with harshness despite the other side doing nothing. Didn't you hear your queen's order? Go and find the princess, now. Yes, your majesty. Complying, the remainder of the demons left in rapid succession. Don't worry, Yenner. I've sent them all out. It won't be long until we locate her. Perhaps it's due to the low, hoarse voice of the man's tone, but it was enough to bring the panic-stricken lady out of her swinging mood. Deet Song, I know the reasoning of her choice, but her heart is so innocent and kind. I can't bear knowing there are sinister characters out there who might take advantage of this fact. The price of learning the hard truth is too high for someone like her. That said, she then gives her tummy a rub. This opinion of mine has only grown stronger now that I have a second one coming. I would rather my children grow up in mediocrity than to live a life of hardship just because they want to be exceptional. Mother. The little steam bun tugs at his mother's sleeve after hearing all those heartfelt words. I know Dragoni also wants to protect you, just like I want to protect you. Believe in us. Once she gets stronger, then she will return to us. I know I will if I was in her case. Bai Yan's heart shook at the sensibleness of her lovely and cuddly boy. Smiling on the face. You are right, Xiaqin. If Dragoni insists on leaving, then there's nothing we can do. Even if we locate her, it doesn't mean she would willingly come back. I don't want to force anything on her. So Deet Song, you only need to have your people locate Dragoni and protect her in the shadows. I only need to know she's safe. Dead, too. All right? Gently stroking his fingers through his wife's hair, Deet Song's warm, gentle smile was dazzling despite his ragged appearance. She is a daughter you took in, so she is mine as well. I won't let others hurt our children. That remark brought a displeased look from the little steam bun, puckering his lips to the side. Batty father, how come you're never this good to me? Sweeping over his gaze immediately at the jab. The Demon King's look was hard and stern, like a father lecturing a child. You are the prince of the demon realm, a man of our D family. As a man, you have a duty to protect your mother and sister. How do you expect me to spoil you if you got that on your shoulder? That didn't make the young boy angry at all. Instead, it brought a burning fire of proudness to the kid's face. You are right, Batty father, I am a man, and a man is used to spoil girls. I will assume the heavy responsibility of protecting mother and my sister, as well as the citizens of the demon realm. Watching the two males in her life acting so childish and silly, Bai Yan's tensed heart up until now finally died down. In fact, she was so amused that a giggle escaped her lips before she could turn back to the old goat and snake. Anyways, I've been meaning to ask you two before. How come the both of you are still here despite me breaking the contract with you two? Dragon Flame didn't respond right away, only carefully looking towards Deet Song for help. When the old goat saw the Demon King had no intention of intervening, a rock could be heard dropping inside over the lack of attention. How come he's looking at me like he doesn't know me? I'm not wrong, the energy signature from his soul is clearly the same as that one. Also, why does it look like no one remembers anything? And how did he become the king of a demon realm? But, despite all the woes and questions hovering around the old goat's heart, he didn't bring it to the open and kept it inside for now. In my impression of humanity, your kind have always been sinister, cunning, cruel, and vicious. But you changed my opinion of that because you didn't use us as shields during time of danger. You set us free. For that I am grateful. This time I am willing to contract with you of my own volition. This decision from the old goat was beyond what Bai Yan expected, and that caused her to raise a brow. She didn't have any other motives when lifting the contracts with these two before. After all, she was going to die anyways according to her own assumption. Why drag someone else down with her? Not like they have some sort of deep grudge for one another. You don't hate me anymore? I remember you wanted to skin me alive and drink my blood. That's what you said, wasn't it? That comment instantly roused a drop of cold sweat from the poor elder's face. Dragon Flame could already see the death glare coming off of Deet Song from the corner of his eye. Skin her alive and drink her blood? I wouldn't dare, even if she gave me 100 hearts. Quickly wiping the cold sweat from his forehead, Dragon Flame hurries to explain. I only said those stuff because I wasn't willing to be your servant. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Moreover, am I not willing to be your servant now? Bai Yan just smiled there, turning to half Qing Sing for her thought. Is your decision the same as his? Biting those lips. Do I even have a choice here? If I don't agree, then Dragon Flame will definitely get payback on me. Will I make it out of here alive otherwise? I don't have a problem with it. All right. Since this is your decision, then I will continue to contract with you both. Due to the pressuring aura from Deetsong and the willingness of both demons, Bai Yen didn't have much trouble or resistance in this attempt. After closing her eyes, the lady's feelers were able to easily sign her signature within their souls. Dead. 3. Half Qing Sing promptly showed a surprised expression after the ritual was complete because of what she sensed. Before, the relationship between herself and Bai Yen was that of slave and mistress, meaning she had to do whatever the woman said under duress. However, this time she's been upgraded to a servant familiar status, meaning she's still connected, but her life's not on the line anymore and could refuse an order if she doesn't like it. I'm done forming the contract with the both of you now, so the two of you can go back to your rooms if you like. Turning to her husband, Deetsong, is my mother here? I want to go see her. Okay, I'll take you to her. She's in the neighboring garden around the back of the palace. Sitting inside a pavilion constructed at the middle of a man-made pond, Bai Ning was currently staring up into the open sky like she's lost in thought about something. But her trance didn't last long when the familiar sound of footsteps brought her back to reality. You've broken into the middle divine level? The woman asks in astonishment after noticing her daughter's breakthrough. Bai Yen faintly nods in confirmation. Yes, mother. I just did after waking up. I see that huge disturbance is because of you then. Slowly coming forward, those tender eyes of this mother surprisingly turns to her son-in-law instead. Can I have a moment with my daughter? I have a few things I like to speak to her about. Deetsong naturally wouldn't object and nodded in agreement. I'll wait for you in the front. Take your time if you need to. Okay, Deetsong, don't worry, it won't be too long. That said, Bai Yen returns her gaze back over to Bai Ning's face. Their contour was very similar, close enough to be called sisters even if not for the age difference. No matter how well-maintained Bai Ning's contour was, she's still coming up to 40 in age. There's bound to be some subtle differences between the two. For example, the lady was much more mature and had on an air of strength from experience that Bai Yen lacked. Visit my site on Cat Translation if you wish to read ahead of public releases. Yenner. I'll admit I was initially very dissatisfied with this husband of yours at the beginning, but it seems I'm wrong about him from the start. He cares about you a lot and I can see that now. Patting her daughter's hand, Bai Ning's smile was all tender and kind, marred only by the speck of sadness in the woman's eyes due to her own yearning for the other half. 20 years. I wonder how he's doing now. Is he okay? Mother, do you remember everything from the past now? Asked Bai Yen after a minute of silence. Nodding at that. Yes, I remember your grandfather, your uncle, and your father. I only found out about his background when I was being pursued by those assassins back then. Don't you think it's ironic? Me and him are both heirs to our respective sects and schools, yet we never once met each other until then because of our reclusive nature. If I had known about everything then, would we have come to this point? Turn out this way? In this life, the one I've wronged the most is to you, Yenner. When I was being chased, I couldn't make it back to the medicine sect and hand you over to your grandfather. In the end, I could only rely on a reliable acquaintance to keep you safe. By the way, is Lan Yu doing well? She asks after suddenly remembering that kind and gentle friend of hers. Unfortunately, the answer of good news didn't come as expected, because Bai Yan's reply left an audible thud to the heart. She has passed away. She has passed away. Those words rung with an indiscernible sensation inside Bai Ning's chest. Clenching those hands, it's obvious this lady was having trouble coming to terms with this fact and what that information hinted to. Dead for? How can this be? Quickly tell me. If Lan Yu passed away, then how was your childhood? Bai Yen didn't keep anything hidden and went over the details in full to her biological mother. From the happy times according to her memory, and the sad and difficult ones where she had to run away from that household. Bai Ning naturally became outraged over the maltreatment of her daughter by that scum of a stepfather, but the woman's anger quickly turned to pain and regret. There's no doubt in her mind that Lan Yu would have taken good care of Bai Yen, just that she never expected her dear friend to pass away so early on in her years. As a result, she could be said to have indirectly pushed the young girl into suffering so much wrong during her youth. I should have kept her with me that day. Why did I decide to leave her behind? But you don't have to feel sorry for me, mother. Even if I suffered a lot in those years, I still had my brother Shower by my side. Now I also have Ditsong and Shachin, so I'm very happy. Upon mentioning her own brother who has always stood by her side, Bai Yan's lips inexplicably curved into a heartwarming smile. Sure, they haven't seen each other in a while after they went their separate ways that day. But this sister knows her younger brother had also come to the celestial realm. As long as they're walking on the same land, then they are bound to reunite someday. That Bai Xiao is indeed a good child. I hope I can meet him someday and even take him as my godson. Bai Ning says that with a slight chuckle. In those years it was Bai Xiao who persistently stood by Bai Yan's side, so the amount of merit he earned with Bai Ning's heart was monumental. She couldn't even begin to imagine otherwise if there wasn't this emotional support. Your husband is also pretty good. That day your injury should have been lethal thanks to that Keeper Ling, but your husband saved you with his essence blood. What did you say? Seeing the urgency, Bai Ning didn't keep her daughter hanging and mistakenly thought it was because she now knows about the Demon King's identity. I already know he's a demon. Don't worry, I'm not like those worldly people out there who can't see past the norm, not to mention he went that far for your sake. If I don't accept him, then it's me who's in the wrong. Visit my site on Cat Translation if you wish to read ahead of public releases. She didn't like Ditsong before because she didn't want to have Bai Yen be hurt by a bad man. Now that she's confirmed that's not the case, there's no reason left to hate him. Pale in the face, Bai Yen presses for more info despite the reassurance. How much blood did he bleed out? Probably about half a bowl? Boom! Like a thunderbolt striking down at her head, Bai Yan's mind was blown away as her legs stumbled back a few steps. For a demon and demonic beast, their essence blood was equivalent to their life. For example, if a demon could live for 1,000 years, then they would undoubtedly suffer greatly in their lifespan. Now imagine half a bowl's worth. That would be lethal to some of the weaker demons. That idiot, he really doesn't want to live anymore, does he? Please wait, mother. I'll be right back very soon. Gnashing her teeth in frustration, Bai Yen didn't wait another second and dashed for the exit where her husband was waiting under a peach blossom tree. How did the talk with mother-in-law go? Oblivious to the mistake he himself did, Ditsong asks with a dashing smile that only got enhanced due to the pink petals slowly drifting onto his robe. Running up fast to choke onto his collar, Bai Yen sounded furious. Ditsong, did you use your own essence blood to save me? Did mother-in-law tell you that? Dead. 5. Do you know what it means to do this? The loss of your essence blood will detrimentally reduce your lifespan. How many years do you have to live? Ditsong understood why his wife would be so agitated and anxious. Without any argument, he rubs his hands around hers and starts making flirting plays. My dear Yenner is still as grumpy as ever, just the way I like it. After saying that, the shameless Demon King didn't give any chance for the woman to retort and leaned in to smooch her lips. Don't fret, Yenner, losing a bit of my lifespan is nothing. I am strong and will continue to grow stronger. When I do, my lifespan will naturally increase in kind. You know, there is a level where one can become immortal and free from the reins of death. But that's too hard, she murmurs helplessly. How difficult can it be? As long as I can continue to live with you, then I will definitely reach that state eventually. By then, not even the cycle of life and death can separate us. How could he bear to leave her alone in this world? Even if it means he would have to struggle for the rest of his life, Ditsong has every intent to enhance his own strength to the upper limits this body would sustain. By then, not even life or death could constrain him. Loosening her hands around his collar. I hope it really will be as you say, otherwise. Turning sharp and commanding like a queen. If you leave me suddenly one day, then even if I have to flip over hell itself, I will take you back and fix you myself. Chuckling with amusement over that threat, the man couldn't resist anymore and hugs her for a deep French kiss. That's his answer, his vow to her. Unaware of it themselves, Their picturesque play of intimacy under the peach blossom tree had been seen entirely from start to finish by Ning. She's been standing at one corner of the doorway, and against her daughter's happiness, this mother couldn't ask for a better outcome. Thank goodness Yenner has such a good husband. Now I don't have to worry about anything after I leave here. Casting her eyes downward in thought, the image of Keeper Ling's old face popped up again, which caused a distortion of anger and hate in that expression. Keeper Ling, Celestial Palace. I will one day destroy you all for hurting my daughter. You bastards will pay for what you've done. With one final glance at her daughter, Bai Ning's body completely disappears from the pond to carry out her vengeance. Unaware of her mother's departure, Bai Yan was still lost in her dreamy moment, pushing her husband away. Be careful you, don't press too hard, otherwise you might hurt the baby. Following the mention of the baby, Di Tsong's gaze slowly shifted to the bumpy belly down below, and exactly then the baby seems to have heard their complaint. To show her existence, the tiny life in there actually kicked the poor mother's belly and sent Bai Yan's gasping for air. What's the matter? Asked Di Tsong with nervous eyes, shaking her head with a sweet smile. There's no problem. The baby is probably anxious to come out and kicked me. Going black in the face, Di Tsong's stern gaze locked onto the belly. If you dare to hurt your mother again, then I will slap your bottom when you come out. This one's existence already forced him to stop spending the night with his wife. Now she's also hurting her? How could this doting husband endure? Oh, Di Tsong, making a helpless face at her hubby's behavior. This is normal, you silly. A baby is bound to kick me sometimes. I don't care how others do it, but I won't let my child do it. That said, the overly protective husband started to make a ridiculous face of unreasonableness. If she kicks you one more time, then I will rope her up and beat her bottom once she's born. Celestial Fox's blood won. Bai Yan's face went black. If the baby is a girl, then she would become Xiaqin's precious little sister. Do you think he will still recognize you as his father if you beat the baby? What does it matter if he recognizes me as his father or not? I only need you anyways. This sentence really does match up to that old saying, a wife is true love and the child is an accident. The only regret Di Tsong has out of this relationship would be how fast the children came into their life. Now he couldn't even get some free time to spend alone with his wife. Of course, if it wasn't for his boy's presence, perhaps Bai Yan wouldn't have accepted him so quickly, and he knew that much. Celestial Palace. Keeper Ling has been moping around in the main hall for a while now, his expression burdensome and tired, like he's contemplating something heavy. Eventually a sigh escaped that mouth. Where exactly did that little thing come from? The power he wielded. Why did I fear it so much? Growing sharp in the eye at the thought. Such a pity I couldn't make sure I sniffed the life out of that girl. With the Demon King's blood saving her, she's likely alive again. Should I inform the other keepers of this matter? Respected keeper, Miss Ruo, she is seeking an audience with you. Despite the sudden interruption of a guard, Keeper Ling didn't angry and even eased up on his sour face. She's back? Go ahead, let her in. Yes, Keeper. But the order was unnecessary because the door had already been pushed open by a hand without any summoning. Under the glistening light of the sun, a woman wearing a light blue dress slowly strolls in, her elegance and grace unmatched in these halls. How did things go on your end, Roshi? Keeper Ling, casting her eyes down like some dejected maiden. I am incompetent, please forgive me. I failed to take down that demonic city and its invaders. Thankfully, I was able to confirm one thing though, that woman is alive again. Unfazed by the expected news, the old-timer didn't sound angry and even grew more tender in his voice. Don't let it get to you. It's not your fault. I in fact have met that woman already, so your outcome is within my expectation. Taken aback by the news, the woman stares out in shock. You've seen her? Yes, it should be her reincarnation. Coincidentally, she's also going by the surname Bai and called Yen. She's even the daughter of that detested Bai Ning. Boom! Horrified on the face, a visible look of panic filled Yun Ruoshi's existence. Didn't that woman fall underground? How can Keeper Ling still meet her? Did she secretly escape somehow? But you don't have to worry too much. You are the destined one, the world will rally behind you. As for that wretched lass, she's the scourge of this world. Nothing good will come her way. Unlike his attitude toward others, Keeper Ling held Yun Ruoshi in very high regard, so his tone has never been harsh or mean. Unfortunately, the constant reminder of the fact that she's the destined one only made the lady there glum with agitation. Make no mistake, Yun Ruoshi wasn't so oblivious to the world that she would think she's the real destined one. Everything in her possession was stolen from Bai Yen in the past. Unless the real owner dies, she could never be at ease or live her life in comfort. Celestial Fox's blood, 2. I understand your concerns, Keeper Ling. I won't dwell on the matter anymore. After all, she and I are not of the same world in the end. That said, Yun Ruoshi then looks up to meet the elder's gaze, that face confident and proud. That's right, me and her are no longer the same grade of people anymore. I'm high and mighty, she's low and filthy like dirt. It's just a matter of time before I end her for good. I'm happy you understand that. If you're tired, then go back and rest first. Alright, is that protection amulet showing any reactions yet? The elder asks with a faint smile as well. Clutching the pendant around her neck, the lady reluctantly answers, Do you know that woman has a son? Nodding. Yes, I've met him already. Her son can suddenly gain immense strength and become like a whole new person. I couldn't overcome that boy when I encountered him. It was the protection amulet that saved me in the final moments. I'm sorry, but I simply can't control my amulet as I wish in my state. Casting her eyes down, her look was all apologetic to suit her words. But my amulet wasn't like this before. That woman accidentally dripped her blood on it when we fought all those years ago. You know it too. I am the destined one. All hope lies with me. As for her, she's the doom of our world, so imagine her dirty blood tainting the amulet. It has caused severe damage because of that reasoning. Due to the lies spouting from that mouth, the elder's already disgruntled face had evolved into that of pure hatred and murder. It's no wonder that wretched lass is that Bai Ning's daughter. They are a perfect match for one another. If it wasn't for that person damaging the amulet, would Ruoshi's strength grow so slowly? Making a bittersweet smile to put the final nail in the coffin. You shouldn't get angry for my sake, Keeper Ling. You know it as well. There are some people who are just evil-hearted inside and would never change. During the period where it was only me and her in the wild, she had always used me as a shield to keep herself safe. But for the sake of all the years of companionship we shared, I couldn't bear to cut off the relationship. Pausing to let her meaning sink in, she could see it was time to make herself shine even further. But everyone has a limit. I'm no different. When I learned of her wanting to use the entire inhabitants of the celestial realm as her own stepping stone, that's when I lost it and couldn't tolerate her sinister deeds anymore. How could someone be so evil and cruel inside? She would destroy everyone just for her own self-interest. Just imagining what would have come to if I didn't stop her frightens me to the core. The more she spoke, the more righteous the lying bitch was sounding until it's almost moral-raising. Against this change, Keeper Ling was taking it very well and eased up like an elder watching their child growing up. Raising a hand to pat the lady's shoulder. It's okay, Ruoshi. Just go back and get a good rest. The way she treated will be paid back in full, you can be sure of it. Thank you, Keeper Ling. I don't know how to repay your kindness. Taking a half bow to show her gratitude, Yun Ruoshi deliberately lowered her head again to hide that devious smirk underneath. But please, I know she is a sinner that can never be redeemed. However, I hope that you can at least give this incarnation of her a chance. Even if I know she will not change, I still hope you would. Celestial Fox's blood, 3. Narrowing his old eyes, Keeper Ling's aura returns to that frosty chill. Give her a chance? How outrageous. That wretched woman has already shown her true colors time and time again. Forget about giving her a chance. I wouldn't even give her a chance to be reincarnated for a third time. Despite his own opinion on the matter, the elder didn't have the heart to downright refute the girl and hurt her feelings. Smiling with a nod. All right, if she is willing to repent, then I'll give her a chance. Of course, She must first exile herself and leave the bounds of the demon realm, then I'll give her the opportunity. Otherwise, thank you, Keeper Ling. Drawing a bright smile on her face, she arches her fist and retreats for the exit where she revealed her true nature. There's only a sinister smirk left. Is the Celestial Lord back yet? Yun Ruo, she asks the guard after making sure no one's seeing. No, milady. The Celestial Lord hasn't returned. All right, I understand. If you notice his return, then come inform me right away. There's bitterness in her voice then. She knows the love of her doom was also her poison. Yet she couldn't deny him and was willing to throw herself into that flame. Demon City. Inside the luxurious palace that was only constructed here in recent months, Bai Yan loafs around in a lazy fashion like she normally does. It's then, without any forewarning, a white figure schemes through the lady's sight and roused her attention. Normally Bai Yan would be quite alarmed to be intruded upon in her own home and without anyone by her side. But this person was someone she recognized. Without hesitation, she got up from the bed to meet the new guest. How come you are here? She asks the person who had stopped moving under the peach blossom tree. Ever since that day where he saved her within the holy domain, she hasn't seen Chu-Yi God again. I came to see you in order to offer a solution in saving your son. He explains with a complex light in those eyes. A way to save Xiachen? The ladies I tightened up at the notion. Do you know the cause behind it? Forming a thin smile along his lips, Chu-Yi God didn't hide anything. Yes. When I treated him before during the first time, I had already known how to save him. There are only two ways. One is to destroy the resenting grudge inside his body. The second is to have them merge together and become one. However, the second method will require the consent of the grudge and a key component. What component? Bai Yan asks with a furrowed face. The blood of a celestial fox. The blood of a celestial fox? Startled by the name of said creature, Bai Yan searched through her own memories to no avail. She's never heard of such a fox in her life. Your husband should know this already. I speculate the reason he didn't tell you before I did is because of the dangerous terrain the animal lives in. That place is called the Cloud Mountain. If you weren't pregnant, then the risk might not be an issue. But the way you are now. As expected, Bai Yan went silent at first before breaking out a shallow smile. I know Ditsong is worried about me and doesn't want me to take the risks in my state. I'm sure he was intending to go by himself at some point. But I am me. I have never been one to hide behind a man. Celestial Fox's blood for... And... Bai Yan narrows her eyes onto the man. I am very grateful to you for saving my son, and I am also thankful for you saving me back in the holy domain. I owe you a lot and I will never forget your kindness in this life. However, Ditsong's status within my heart is irreplaceable. I won't allow anyone to say something bad about my husband. Chu-Yi God may not be openly hostile towards Ditsong, but the underlying meaning of his words didn't escape Bai Yan's ear. If there's no ill intent, then they could still be friend, but vice versa. If for her husband's sake, she won't mind distancing herself from this mysterious man. Clenching the hands behind his back, that warning from the lady definitely hit a sore spot. You're overthinking the matter. I've come to tell you because I wish to. You don't owe me anything. If anything, it's I who owes you. If anything, it's I who owes you. Bai Yan's heart stung over those words. For some reason she got this strange sensation that someone had said that to herself before. Suddenly, the handsome face of Chu Yifeng returns to her mind, causing a loud bang in her head like it's about to explode. That's right, Chu Yifeng also mentioned something similar like that in the past where he probably owes her for a past life's debt. But what does this man have to do with Yifeng? Clenching her fist at all the unknown hovering over this issue. I've told you before that I have a friend with a face exactly like yours. I'm gonna ask again, do you and him share some sort of relationship? The man didn't answer right away, only staring at her like he's trying to gauge something. I'm sorry, I'm afraid there's nothing I can say. Pressing forward by stepping into his personal space, there was no way Bai Yan would let this go so easily. What do you mean by that? Are you implying he is indeed related to you? You will find out eventually, but not now. That said, The tenseness in Chui God's clenched fist began to loosen. And, I suggest you hurry and go find a celestial fox. The sooner the better. Why so? Narrowing up her eyes, Bai Yen didn't understand why the urgency, especially when she's still heavily pregnant. At the very least she should go after going through labor to reduce the risk. Because the celestial fox will only appear when a fox is born. The baby in your stomach is not a normal one, so it will undoubtedly lure one to your side. Now this has left the poor woman in a bind. She knows that if Ditsong finds out, then he would never allow her to go out during her pregnant state. In fact, Bai Yen has no doubt her husband would tie her up if he must, just to keep her at home. Also, you should bring your son along for the trip if possible. A celestial fox's blood is best used when it's fresh. That's when it has the greatest effect. Furthermore, that species of the fox kind hated man the most. They won't show themselves if they smell the scent. As for Bai Shachen, he's only a kid, his presence shouldn't matter. Having said this, Chui God then met the woman's eye with his own before handing over an item. I've said everything I need to say. Take this, it's a jade card that can call for me. If the Celestial Palace ever comes to make trouble for you, go ahead and snap the card in half. I will come at my fastest speed. Startled by the offer, Bai Yen first glanced at the man, then down to the card in her hands. She's troubled by the idea of relying on this person who she barely knew. But right when she wanted to return the item to its owner, Chui God was already gone. Nowhere to be seen in front of herself. Celestial Fox's blood. 5. I believe that as my child you will be very strong and survive. So, if you are willing to let me go to find the Celestial Fox in order to save your older brother, then give me a sign by kicking me 3 times. But if you don't agree, then kick me twice. Whatever you choose, I will respect your opinion. Bai Shachen was her child, as was the fetus in her belly. If Bai Yan's going to take the risk with her, then she would need the consent of the unborn baby. Bump, bump, bump. As if able to understand her words, the fetus actually kicked her 3 times as requested and shocked the poor mother. Really? You're able to understand me? Alright, if you agree, then kick me twice this time, and if you disagree, then kick me 3 times. Bump, bump. This time there's no mistake. The baby does understand her. Now that you agree to your brother, we'll find a way to locate a celestial fox and save your brother. That said, she then starts to muse over the options. Firstly, she mustn't let Ditsong find out about what she's up to. Otherwise the idea would be tossed out without a second thought. That means she must leave quietly. Mother! It's then a soft, cuddly voice rushes over from the rear and causes the woman to swing around like a thief that's been caught. Thankfully, it was only her son once she recognized who it was. How come you're here, Shachen? Where's your father? Asked Bai Yen with a soft, tender voice of her own, answering without a second thought to his mother's inner plan. Batty father and first elder needs to go out for something and won't be back until evening. They said to keep you company, mother. He's not here. A sigh of relief swept over the woman's face. Listen to me, Shachen. I have found a way to completely integrate that grudge within your body. Now neither of you have to disappear. Blinking those eyes of his, the boy didn't object and continued to listen. But, we will have to make a trip to somewhere. You need to come with me. Giving a happy nod. I will listen to you, mother. But my little sister is going to be born soon, so how are we supposed to go out? Is it safe? The reminder about safety definitely hit a sore spot for the desperate mother. I have no choice. In regards to Chui God stuff about using a fox's blood and such, she does trust him. It's unreasonable to trust a stranger so heavily, but that's what the heart tells her to believe. Okay, if that's what you want, mother. Batty father said it already. If he's not home, then I am the man of this family. I won't let anyone harm you or my little sister. Patting his chest, the kid says it proudly that left Bai Yen warmed to the heart. Don't worry, Shachen. Whether it be you or him, I won't let either of you disappear. Smiling brilliantly. If mother likes him, then I can accept him, but I won't leave you no matter what. Otherwise, I will feel lonely in that sea of bitter hell. In front of Bai Yen, he's always going to be that good and obedient child. aching over how sensible her boy was. Bai Yen couldn't take it anymore and pulled him into a bear hug. "Don't worry. I promise everything will be all right." Celestial Fox's Blood. 6. Bai Xiachen didn't say nothing more as he hugged his head against Bai Yan's chest with that big bright smile. "Come then, let's head out before your father returns." That said, she promptly lets go of her son and led the way for the exit, holding the boy's hand along the way. At the main gate leading out of the courtyard, 2 guards were mindlessly bored out of their minds right now when they saw the woman and boy coming out. Immediately, they straightened up their backs and got sharp in order to keep up appearances. "Queen, Prince, might we ask where you are going?" Quickly coming up with an excuse. "I'm finding the room stuffy and bored here, so I'm taking Xiachen out for a walk. We'll be back very soon, so there's no need to inform Ditsong." Naturally, the guards posted here wouldn't dare stop her. After all, this queen of theirs were the king's treasure. If so much as a scratch befalls the lady, then they might as well offer up their heads on their own. Just like that, Bai Yen was able to easily bypass the palace guards using this excuse until she was stepping foot into the city streets. Meanwhile, at the same time, not far away in a mountain range, Ditsong was standing stoically atop of a ridge when his mood went afoul for unknown reasons. However, as soon as this doting husband recalled the image of his lovely wife waiting at home for him, a smile would escape his lips to wow the world. It's mesmerizing, daunting even for the faint of heart, which in turn left many of the female demons nearby gasping for breath. A humph. First Elder didn't miss the behavior from the crowd gathered below and hurried to correct his liege's unintentional mistake. "Doesn't the king know his smile can kill? What if some of the demonesses get some funny idea because of your smile? That will make the queen very unhappy." Realizing he shouldn't act that way as well, Ditsong quickly restored himself back to that dominant and cold demon king that they all expect of him. "So all of you are from the nearby demon tribes? In the celestial realm, most demonic beasts have long been subjugated into slavery or familiar contracts at the hands of the humans living here. Only few and sparse groups were able to escape that fate thanks to hiding in difficult-to-reach terrains. As a result, the ones gathered here today before Ditsong are the ones who didn't get the news of the demon realm's attack and had to be sought out personally." "That's correct, Your Majesty. We are the remaining demon tribes living in this region and are willing to be at your command." Ditsong's sight first landed on the speaking old elder, then shifted to the beautiful young maiden next to him. "An entry-level middle divine?" The words were faint, but it was able to reach everyone's ear nevertheless. Understanding he needed to explain, the old elder steps forward and bows. "Your Majesty, she is my youngest daughter and the most talented one among my children. In order to not let the celestial realms people know of her existence, we deliberately hid her talent over the years and has only managed to help her break into that rank recently. Her age is a bit old, but no matter, my daughter the princess will be born soon. I need proper maids that can not only serve her but also to protect her from danger. First Elder, go find several more talented maids like this one to serve the princess." As his daughter, Ditsong has every intent to give the baby the best he could offer in this world. Furthermore, he needs to train the maids to keep the stinking brats eyeing his precious girl away. What if they try to snatch her out from under his eye? The queen ran away again. "One. Yes, sire." First Elder respectfully complies by cupping his hand. "I will take care of this matter, so please go ahead and return to the queen. I'm sure Her Highness will want to be accompanied by you." The last bit of his sentence was sugar to the ear, which made the Demon King's face melt again into a warming smile that left the elder awkwardly embarrassed. He wanted to remind Ditsong again this wasn't the right image to give as their king, but the man was already gone when he opened his mouth again. A humph, coughing to clear the awkwardness in the air. First Elder figured he might as well push forward anyways since they've already embarrassed themselves enough. "Leopard Chief, our king always takes good care of the queen, so there are never any maids near Her Highness. However, the princess will soon be born, so we are in obvious needs of capable maids for that. I want to know if your leopard clan has any qualified members to fit the job." The meaning of his remark was obvious. It's a warning to not get any funny ideas about the king or becoming his consort. They're only maids and nothing else. Otherwise, I've said all I need to say now. Go back and prepare the candidates and come to the demon city when you're ready. Whisking his sleeve, First Elder then began to leave and signaled the dispersal of everyone gathered. Sister! Right as the young demoness who had caught Deetsong's eye earlier was about to leave though, another figure suddenly steps in and stopped her in the track. Compared with her beautiful face, this new girl in front was quite petite with a cuter contour. Sister, I heard the king personally selected you? That's great. When I get to the city, I will need your help, sister. Furrowing up her brow, mooing the leopard demoness grew hesitant at her younger sister's request. You want me to help you? For what? Quit trying to fool me, sister. You really think I don't know? The king is only saying it on the outside that he's looking for maids to look after the princess. But in truth, he's searching for concubines for himself. Once we are in the demon city, then we are all his woman. Your strength is higher than mine, so of course you will need to help me. In this cute-looking petite girl's opinion, mooing should be monopolized for her own benefits since she's stronger and her older sister. Such a great opportunity doesn't come often, especially when they're going to be in the palace to serve the king. What do you mean by that? When did the king start selecting concubines? He only chose me because my talent and strength are higher than everyone else's. Don't go running off and getting weird ideas. Now getting annoyed in her tone, Mooing didn't like the way the conversation was heading. Regarding this younger sister of hers, the young demoness could say she's not very fond of her to begin with. For one thing, the girl never bothers to improve or train. That's already a disappointing factor in of itself. And the other was how often her younger sister would try to seek higher places beyond her position. This goes against everything Mooing stands for, and that was self-improvement. The queen ran away again. 2. Protect the little princess. Mu Shui sneered sarcastically over her older sister's belief. The baby inside the queen's stomach hasn't even come out yet. How are they so certain it's a princess? Mooing expression sank into a darker tone over that comment. If you do this, then it will bring great disaster to our leopard clan. It's not easy for us to have this peace today, and you want to ruin it all for your own sake. I'm only speaking the truth, sister. What's more, I heard the queen is only a human. Us demons hate humanity to the core. What makes you think the king can really last forever with her? Not to mention the young prince is nothing but a filthy half-breed. What makes you think he can lead our kind? Mu Shui's lip then formed a scornful sneer like she's been insulted. Only the children we give birth to is worthy of becoming the true heir. Anything less is unworthy. Nothing but a stinking human woman. How dare she compete with us for the king's favor? If the queen is a demoness, then it's one thing, at least then I will still be able to suck it up. But she's a human. And the fact that the king is having the first elder choose maids for the princess goes to show how little he favors the current queen. That's right, in this presumptuous bitch's mind, Deetsong's act of finding capable maids for his own unborn daughter was in fact an indirect mean of choosing more concubines for himself, and she herself was the perfect candidate for that position. I will tell father about everything you said today, and you, stopping there because she didn't want to finish the last bit. Mooing glares at her own younger sister to emphasize her point. However, their argument didn't get any further because an angry holler had cut them off just then. What tell? What is there to tell? Aside from tattling to your father, what else can you do? Almost running over was a middle-aged woman of decent beauty, but that resentful and angry growl ruined it all. I'm warning you, Mooing, you're not allowed to tell your father about this. Furthermore, you must do everything in your power to help your sister get the position of queen. Staring wide-eyed at this order, Mother, what do you mean by that? Isn't it obvious? With your strength, killing a simple human is easy. Once you are done with that, then you can take the blame for yourself. This way you won't drag your little sister down with you. Yu Yao coldly snorted like it's the obvious thing to say to her own eldest daughter. Due to the circumstances, Mooing had been kept in the mountains since childhood and isolated from the rest of her clan. Therefore, she didn't have much contact with her own mother over the years. Naturally, Yu Yao wouldn't have much feelings for this girl as a result and favored the younger one instead. As expected, Mu Ying's body went stiff after what she heard. My own mother wants me to die for her other daughter? She wants me to die for Mu Shui. Is she even my mother anymore? Mother? Hooking her arms around like it's pre-planned, Mu Shui starts getting all whiny like a spoiled brat. I don't care. I want to be the king's woman. No, I want to be the queen. I want to have his child, and I want my child to be the future heir. I know my baby is far better than that half-breed runt. Oh, my good daughter, you don't need to worry. Your mother, I will definitely get your sister to help you get your wish. Giving a gentle caress of her daughter's hair, this biased mother didn't even spare a glance towards the older one. Besides, my sewer here is so outstanding. How can anyone not like you? That said, Yu Yao's eyes then shifted to Mu Ying's figure, who just stood there with a haunted face. This woman had no warmth in those eyes, like she's facing some servant. Did you hear me or not? Don't think just because your father favors you that you can use him against me. If you dare say a single word about today, then I will die in front of you immediately. I will tell everyone it's you who forced your own mother to die after clinging onto the king. The queen ran away again. 3. Mu Ying was left speechless and stunned over her own mother's irate face. It's painful and hurtful for the girl, like someone just yanked at her heart and threw it away. This is my mother. Does she think I voluntarily locked myself up in the mountains? Does she think I wanted to leave them? How can a parent make such a request of their own child? This sort of maltreatment was honestly not what Mu Ying expected. Just because she herself didn't get to grow up with the family, she's now an outsider. All right, I won't tell father so you two can stop fretting. But I won't help her either. I'm afraid of dying, so asking me to die for her is out of the question. Disheartened inside, Mu Ying didn't have the energy left to speak to these two. Yu Yao may not favor her eldest daughter, but the motherly instinct was still there. Sadly, once the woman saw the cold, hard stare from Mu Ying, she immediately retracted any sentiment of feeling guilty. Mu Ying, I don't believe what you say about not having thoughts about the king. I'm telling you, the position as queen is your little sister's. You mustn't fight her for it. That only made the girl even more disappointed. Whatever you want, just don't blame me and say I didn't warn you beforehand. There's a good chance you two will die for this. That said, she gave one final glance at her sister and mother, like it's some sort of farewell to their familiar bonds. She's done with them and only wants to return to the mountain. Mother! Mu Shui felt aggrieved over the rejection and started to whine again. Don't worry, sweetie. I will go talk to your father and have him bring you into the palace. But remember, don't let him know about what we're planning. With his old-fashioned nature, he will surely object to the idea and remove you from the roster. Still sulky in the face, Mu Shui bites her lip. What if Mu Ying tells father? Her? The fact that she promised us means she won't rat us out. Don't take her too seriously, and when you do become the queen, won't she have to kneel before your feet? When that time comes, you can humiliate her all you like. This time Yu Yao's voice was very cold, like the girl was no longer her daughter at all. At the mention of being the queen, Mu Shui's heart definitely felt relieved because the desire and greed for the crown overcame all her own fears. Imagine a tiara on her own head and the groveling picture of thousands of demons before her eye. What a glorious picture that would be. I won't let you down, mother. One day I will become the noblest of all women in this world. At first her goal was only to become a concubine of Ditsong's. But clearly this girl has no bounds or qualms about anything. Yu Yao felt proud after hearing that blasted remark worthy of execution. In this mother's mind, her youngest daughter could do anything, blind confidence being the worst type of poison for an ignorant mother. Go clean yourself up now. I'll go find your father and organize the matter of bringing you into the palace. Patting her daughter's head, the woman's attitude was too polarizing to say she's right in the head. The queen ran away again. 4. Even though Mu Ying promised her not to say anything, but Yu Yao has never been one to trust others so easily. She must go confirm it's the case in order to be reassured, and telling her youngest daughter would do nothing but make trouble. Demon City. Inside the newly constructed palace, Ditsong was searching high and low for the two people he wanted to find. Sadly, despite his efforts, he couldn't find a single trace of their being in the courtyards or rooms. Going slightly white in the face, he makes a grab for the nearest demon soldier, Where's the queen and prince? Startled and unable to process the question, the poor guard had to take a good moment to answer. The queen and prince said they wanted to go out for a walk because they felt stuffy inside. They haven't returned yet. They haven't returned yet? The man's face instantly changed into an ugly shade, hurrying to close his eyes in order to sense for his wife's presence. The Demon King didn't wait another second before his body disappeared in a gush of wind for the outside. Not long after the king's departure, First Elder also returns from his trip of recruiting the 10 maids for the princess. But when he saw the trembling appearance of the palace guards around himself, he couldn't help but wonder, "Why are you all acting so nervous for?" Literally squirming from discomfort, the guard in question cried and wept as he spoke. "The queen and prince ran away from home again. We didn't stop her, and now the king. He's very angry." Sure enough, the elder's face went stiff like a rock, bursting with anger as well. He stomped over and grabbed the person by the collar and yelled from the top of his lung, "You useless things! Don't you know the queen is pregnant? You actually let her go out on her own? What if something happens to the prince and queen? Do you want us all to die?" The impending fate of that future left all the guards within earshot of his outburst crumbling to the floor. They didn't dare to move, nor did they dare to ask for mercy because it would only make things worse. Frustrated, First Elder didn't want to waste time on unimportant matters now. "You two go arrange the living quarters for these maids. I'm going to go handle this issue first because you useless idiots can't do a simple job of looking after the royal family." "Yes, Elder." The leading palace guard complies and hanged his head in depression. Not a moment too late after the elder's departure, the leopard ladies were brought over by another attendant charged with their guidance. But when Mu Shui saw the mood appearances of these soldiers, the greedy girl couldn't resist coming over to ask, "Hey, Mr. Guard, is the relationship between your king and queen very bad? Why does she constantly run away from home?" Frowning at the annoyance. "Our king and queen's relationship have always been good. You don't need to fret about it." Despite those words and the constant tugging of her older sister mooing from the side, the little greedy lass didn't budge and smirked. "Is that so? Why does the queen keep wanting to leave then? I bet it's because she got wind of the king wanting to take in a new consort. That's why she's left out of anger." "The king wants to take in a new consort?" The expression of the guard froze over the idea. No wonder the queen was anxious to leave today. It must be because the king broke her heart, which made her leave out of spite. Mu Shui, now openly growing anxious in the face, mooing desperately wanted to put a stop to this before it's too late. Lowering her voice into an urgent whisper, "Stop this. This is the Demon City and not the Leopard Clan. No one can protect you here." Obvious Mu Shui didn't agree with that idea and puckered up those lips. "Not like I said anything that's false. Why is she being so pushy?" Labor 1. A humph. The guard forces a dry cough using an expressionless face. "Whatever you want to say can come later. Right now come with me." In an instant, the courtyard was silent over the order. Mu Shui undoubtedly felt unhappy over the lost opportunity and glared at her older sister. "What a nosy body. I knew I should have forced Mother to keep this woman at home. That way I can avoid having her cling on to me and ruin my good thing." However, not even this greedy girl was foolish enough to openly showcase her true feelings. This wasn't the Leopard Clan, but the palace in the Demon City. She has at least enough awareness to know what she could and couldn't do in these times. The guard obviously saw through the character of this leopard lass. After all, this wasn't the first time he's had to deal with the female sex trying to get into the king's bedchamber. In the end, after much deliberation, the demon soldier decides to consult with the Elder Council after bringing these maids to their designated living quarters. He doesn't want to make presumptions and make another mistake like today. Unfortunately, it seems fate doesn't want to side with the poor palace guard during this period. Right when he arrived at the courtyard where the remaining elders were staying, he was firmly driven away by the attendants, saying the elders were currently in a crucial step of making a breakthrough and won't allow an audience. In a tea house not far from the Demon City, a teenager was currently sitting next to a window staring out into the sky when he overheard the nearby conversations. "Oh right, Did you hear about the recent news regarding the Demon City? Demon City? Crumpling up his nose over those two words, the teen in question started to pay attention. Of course I've heard about that Demon City. It's been conquered by the demons, did it not? I really have to wonder what the Celestial Palace is thinking. It's been so long already. Why aren't they sending people over to retake the place? If this continues, then the entire realm will fall into those demons at this rate. I'm not talking about that city being conquered, you silly. I'm talking about the Demon King taking in new consorts. Because of that reasoning, the Demon Queen and her son, the prince, have now ran away from home and hasn't returned yet. That Demon Queen deserves it, I say. She's a human like us, but decides to become a demon's wife. Bang! The teacup in the boy's hand was crushed in that instant. Despite the boiling water being hot enough to give a burn, the teen didn't pay it any heed and came before the loudmouthed gossiper's face in the next. You, what do you want? The person asks after noticing the intensely cold air coming down his neck. You just said, the Demon King wants to take in a new consort, is that true? I'm not entirely sure. The news came from the Demon City, so I'm only saying what I heard. It's a huge sensation apparently and has all the female demons there riles up. Even some human women are trying to get in on the election process. Labor too. Swoosh. Right as the loudmouthed gossiper finished his words, the teen in question had already turned away following a rapid gush of wind. Demon City. Standing under the mounting image of the towering structures that made up the walls surrounding this city, the teen was indifferent as he held out his long sword. But before he could make it no more than a few steps towards the city gates, a regiment of demon soldiers had rushed over to surround him from within. Get Deed Song out here to see me, he snaps, unfazed by the sizable force before his eye. Who are you? How dare you call our king by name? Asked the leading guard, sneering. I only want to ask him in person if he really intends to take in a new consort. Tell him to get out here. The guards were all taken aback by the demand. It's true there's a rumor hovering above the city about the king taking in new consorts, and that the new maid's first elder brought back from the leopard clan were the likely candidates. But that's never confirmed, so it didn't make sense that someone would have issue with the matter. Of course, those who knows the royal family wouldn't believe such nonsense to begin with, but that doesn't mean everyone would think that way. For these palace guards over here, they're originally from the secret domain of the demon realm. They've spent most of their time training within there, so whatever story or information they had were only from hearsay, hence the hesitation in their behavior. I thought it was all rumors at first, but clearly that's not the case if even his subordinates are acting the way you are all. Perhaps it's the rage brewing from within at the notion. The teen's hand was starting to shake as he held that sword. I will get an answer from him no matter what today. I want to know if the promise he made to me back then still holds true. He promised to love my sister for the rest of his life. Now he wants to take in a new consort? Fine. If he takes one, then I'll kill one. If he takes two, then I'll kill two. I like to see him take a new consort then. The more he spoke, the more intimidating and threatening the young lad became. Against this oppressive picture, the demon soldiers all felt an instinctive fear and cowered back. You? The leading guard popped his eyes out as he nervously cried out the idea in his mind. You are the king's brother-in-law? Instead of getting happy, the teen only grew more outraged at the title. Brother-in-law? That's all in the past. My sister is by Yen, and I won't recognize someone that likes to flirt around with other females after being married. Now go get him out here to see me. Or is he too afraid to come out in person? Sweating buckets at the confirmation, the leading guard wanted to curse his own luck. This guy really is the queen's younger brother, and he's here to get justice for the queen. I can't offend this guy, otherwise the king might kill us for good if he learns of this. So it's Sir Shao, apologies for not recognizing you beforehand. Unfortunately, I can't oblige your request because the king has left in search of the queen again. The guard rubs his hands together like a guilty child that's been caught doing something wrong. Labor 3. Bai Zhao's expression grew even colder over that information. That asshole still have the guts to find my sister? Ridiculous. When he comes back, you tell him I am willing to take care of my sister for life. If he really wants to take in a new consort, then he will stop pestering my sister. That said, he gives one final glance to the open gate where a flash of cold gleam glowed from those irises. Just when the leading demon solitaire felt relieved at the teen turning away again, something completely out of his expectation occurred. It's the sound of something collapsing behind his back. Rigid like a robot, he turns around and saw what it was. The gate has been sliced apart and down on the ground. Gulping. Her Highness's brother isn't easy to handle either. He destroyed the gate. That's tantamount to stepping on the king's face. It looks like His Majesty won't have an easy time persuading the queen to return this time. Sky Mountain. High into the clouds. Dangers are lurking everywhere in this difficult terrain. Nevertheless, Bai Yan continues to push through the blocking branches with her sword in one hand and her son behind herself. SSSS. Suddenly, the poor woman felt a stinging pain along the belly and caused her to convulse a gasp. She's sweating now, but knew well enough stopping was out of the question at this point. Mother, what's wrong? Bai Xiachen nervously grabbed onto Bai Yan's hand after noticing the behavior, his little face showing concern and worry. Shaking her head. It's all right. Probably it's your little sister wanting to come out. I'm sorry, Mother. It's all my fault. If not for me, you wouldn't have to endure so much with your tummy this big. Aching with pain in the heart, the kid had started to cry along his lovely but guilty face. I'm fine, this is your sister's will. Come, let's continue. Only by getting up to the peak of this sky mountain can we find a celestial fox. Drawing a smile to reassure her boy, Bai Yan presses on without regret. For her son, she's willingly to do anything and endure anything. Like the sky mountain, it's infamous for being dangerous and full of traps. Thankfully, she did her research beforehand and managed to avoid any risk so far. It's just that there's some sort of invisible pressuring force surrounding this mountain that hindered any human trying to climb it. Due to this reasoning, Bai Yan's body would be stressed beyond compare with every inch she moved, making it all the more difficult to walk. Even so, she's not going to stop. In fact, she couldn't stop. Bang! But in the end, the pressure was just too much for her pregnant self. Bending down in the knees, she's sweating buckets and showed visible pain on the face. Labor for Mother! Throwing himself over to Bai Yan's side, he cries out in fright, Let's go back, okay? I don't want the celestial fox's blood anymore. Let's go home. We've already come this far. There's no turning back anymore, Xiachen. There's only 100 meters away. We must reach the top. Closing her eyes, Bai Yan's mind brought up the image of that ghoul-like version of her son merging together with the light one. Only with that picture did her heart firm up again. Even if I have to crawl, I must crawl up here. No one can stop me from saving my son. Grinding a streak with her knee along the snow, she slowly climbs up to her feet by clinging onto the cliffside. I must get up there. The celestial foxes will only show themselves if I'm at the peak. I must get up there. At the thought, she then stares down at her belly and rubbed the life that's within herself. Child, you must protect yourself. For your brother, I can only persist. I also believe you will be born safely into this world and stay with me for life. Bai Xiachen saw how determined his mother was and decides to stop crying despite the tears still coming out. He's learned enough through the years he's not supposed to show weakness when Bai Yan's trying so hard already. Together, one small and one big figure continued to climb this difficult mountain pass. But the mountain wouldn't just ease up on its relentless nature just because the two were showing determination. The more they climbed, the colder it became until Bai Yan felt like her body's being taken over by frostbites. Nevertheless, the pair eventually did reach the peak of this snowy mountain. Though it took far more time than necessary, from daytime to nightfall they've made it. Perhaps it's the fact that she's reached the goal, or the fact that the strange pressuring aura around this mountain has dissipated. But Bai Yan collapsed the second she felt it was far enough. This would have been fatal if it was under normal circumstances. However, there's one good thing out of all this: her power's back. Immediately, the woman summoned up her internal energy to course through her veins and brought a wave of warmth to the body. Mother! Bai Xiachen pounced at the collapsed woman after seeing her terrible condition. He wanted to dearly to check her health, But the inner restraint brought the boy back to his senses and stopped him from doing anything rash. "You're so silly, Xiachen." Breaking out a smile, Bai Yan gently pokes at the little steambun's temple. Because the boy was a half-breed, part human and part demon, he's able to interchange between both races with his aura. But just then, when he cried out after she collapsed, the boy had stopped using his demon aura and reverted back to the human version, making him susceptible to the same pressure that Bai Yan's been fending off until now. "Mother?" Face planting his plump face against her belly. "I'm not afraid of suffering. I only want to be with you. I'm too small to help carry some of the weight from you, so I can only do this. I don't want you to suffer alone, Mother." Labor 5. For the little steambun, being able to stay with Bai Yan was all that he wanted in this world. Even if that meant plenty of suffering and dangers involved, he won't regret it. Hiss! The poor woman wanted to say something more then, however, it's right at that moment a stinging pain came rolling from her belly again and caused her to go white from the spasm. "What's wrong, Mother?" Bai Xiachen asks with urgent eyes. "Is my little sister coming out?" Tightly biting her lips, Bai Yan clearly couldn't speak anymore due to the sensation coursing through her veins. It's an experience normal people could never imagine. For example, compared to the injuries she's used to taking in combat, this was several times more intense. "Mother!" Unable to hold back the tears anymore, the little steambun shows a pleading face due to that painful expression. He's accompanied by Yen for so many years and has never seen his mother behave this strongly and helpless. "Xiachen, help me prepare the scissor and hot water." Yuho quickly pulling out the prepared scissor from his storage bag. The boy also grabs the water kettle and an iron pot from within for use. These are all prepared for this occasion prior to their departure, so it didn't take long for Bai Xiachen to set everything up. Bai Yan, on the other hand, was too preoccupied with her current condition of going into labor to do anything else. Truthfully, she doesn't understand why either, but this time it's much more painful than when she carried her son the first time around. Seconds passed. Minutes passed. The clock continued to tick along, but the baby remained firmly lodged in there, refusing to come out and causing the poor woman to gasp constantly in pain. "Mother!" Growing increasingly more distressed over that painful face, the boy starts to plead. "I don't want a sister anymore. I don't want a sister anymore. Can you not give birth anymore? I don't want you to keep getting hurt." Unable to speak, Bai Yan could only make a bittersweet smile at her boy. "The baby's already coming out soon. How can I not have it? Besides, I've come this far and climbed the mountain. What does some pain matter at this point?" Getting angry now, Bai Xiachen stares angrily at the big belly. "You are not a good sister, you causing Mother so much pain. If you don't come out now, then I won't like you anymore." Who knows if the boy's words really worked, or it's just the timing. But the next thing Bai Yan felt was a loosening sensation around her belly and a ball of flesh rolling down her bottom half, followed closely by the screaming cry of a baby's voice. Panting with air still, Bai Yan felt relieved. "Hurry, Xiachen. Go pick the baby up or else the cold will hurt her." "I don't want to." Bai Xiachen refused and instead ran up to Bai Yan's side to grasp her hand. "Why? Don't you want your sister? Hurry and go pick her up. She hurt you, so I don't like her anymore." Puckering his lips, the boy explains with an unhappy face. Labor 6. In the eyes of the boy, anyone who hurts his mother was one to dislike, hence his behavior right this instant. "Xiachen, I suffered a lot in order to give birth to her. Are you going to let all that go in vain?" Bai Yan says that with a frail smile. Though unwilling, the little steambun does find the argument logical. As such, he could only begrudgingly come before the baby where found the pinkish lump of squirming flesh. Instantly, the hard look on his face began to soften up. "Eh!" Crying out after finding the bodily structure similar to his own, the boy swings around and exclaimed, "Mother! This is not a little sister, this is a little brother." Also showing surprise along the face, Bai Yan just stared for a second, realizing how silly she's been. 4 days on end, Bai Xiachen's insistence about the baby being a girl has apparently rubbed off on her, and that made her assume that's the case. How silly! How could I have taken a child's dream as real? Puckering his lip to the side, Bai Xiaoqin's discontent towards the baby only grew. If it was a sister, then I can ignore what happened. But he's a little brother. When he grows up, I'm going to teach him a good lesson. Hiss. Right as Bai Yan could gather a breather, another contraction hits her hard, causing that face to go white. Xiaoqin, there's another one. Instantly, the boy's complexion went pale again over the news. Why is there another one? It was already hard enough for one. I don't want mother to go through another hurt. Bai Yan knew the boy's worry, so she tried to reassure him with a smile. However, perhaps this one in the stomach was better and well-behaved, but there wasn't any struggle for the woman after one push. Immediately, a second ball of flesh rolled down from her bottom self, and like before, Bai Xiaoqin quickly stepped in to pick up the crying baby. It's just that, unlike the first baby, this one clearly had a different structural makeup. This fact brought a huge smile to the boy's face. Mother, it's a sister. This is a girl. Full of excitement in the voice, he's so proud right now. I knew it, my little sister is the good and obedient one. She didn't make mother suffer at all. This little brother, on the other hand, is the bad one. He's mischievous just from first glance. I'm going to give him a good beating later. Against the picture of her 3 children, Bai Yan just couldn't help but chuckle. Be good, little sister. I will take good care of you and fend off the cold. Shrouding his little hands in a golden glow, the boy's power instantly dispelled the frost around the 2 babies. Oh, right, mother. Can I name my brother and sister? He asks with sparking eyes. Faintly nodding. Okay. Then I'll name my little sister Ling Yan, meaning hope and beauty. She will be Di Ling Yan. If that's what makes you happy, Bai Yan softly giggles. And what about your little brother? Oh, puckering his lips in discontent. Little brother is so naughty, so I'll just call him Pippi. Gawking her face, Bai Yan has had to hand it to her son. Based on this attitude alone, she could tell he doesn't like this baby brother. That name is not very nice, pick another, she says with brows pricked. Truth was Bai Xiaoqin only wanted to help name his sister. Never did he intend on for a boy instead. If not for worrying about tiring out Bai Yan some more, he wouldn't even bother at this point. Puckering his lips again. Then let's call him Tian Tian. Tian Tian? Bai Yan's face went black. Your little sister will be called Di Lian Yan, and your little brother will be called Di Jin Tian? How about that? Celestial Fox 1. Okay. I will listen to you, mother. The boy has no opinion regarding the matter. After all, he only cares about his little sister's name. Giving a gentle tickle at the baby girl. Ling Yan, you have to remember your name is from your older brother here. As if to answer those words, the girl actually drew a smile that melted the kid's heart like a hot spring. Mother, she is smiling at me. Did you see that? Smiling right up to the eye. Bai Xiaoqin couldn't hold back his delight. She must also like me a lot. Xiaoqin, bring me the scissor first. Bai Yan had long climbed up from the dirty ground and leaned in against a nearby tree using a sitting position. Okay. First burning the metal utensil against the fire, he then quickly came before his mother with a helpless face. What should I do now, mother? Give. But before she could say give her the scissor, a noticeable energy signature had caught her attention and sent her into alarm. Xiaoqin, protect your little brother and sister. Without delay, Bai Yan takes over and cuts the umbilical cord without a second thought, her eyes scanning intently at the front. Okay. With the main cord holding the baby's back cut, the little steam bun was free to move around freely for the impending new arrival. They are both aware of what's coming and knew what must be done. Swoosh! It didn't take long for the sound to reach their location. And when it did, Bai Yan's eyes immediately locked onto the snowy white fox that gave off an incredible visual impact. Yet instead of stopping over the unfamiliar people in her territory, the fox continued to pounce at them at incredible speed. In an instant, the creature had brandished its claws and swiped down at Bai Yan's shoulder. Mother! White in the face, Bai Xiaoqin snaps in anger over the wound. Stop! This angry holler carried incredible weight apparently. Rather than continuing with its attack, the celestial fox stopped and stared out at the child in a daze. Using this momentary opening, Bai Yan promptly backed off to gain a bit of distance. The pain stung from her shoulder and she's very perplexed by the creature's behavior. Does Xiaqin's lineage able to suppress the celestial fox? That must be it. He's also a fox, the royal family at that. This celestial fox may have lived and evolved inside the celestial realm, but he's still an animal. Careful. From out of the blue, Bai Yen could hear the whistling sound of an arrow from the sky. It's shrouded in purple light, soaring through the air like it wants to rip reality apart. Thankfully, the target wasn't the woman herself, otherwise she'd be in some serious danger there. Instead, it's shooting straight down for the hostile animal. PFFF. The celestial fox obviously sensed the danger behind itself and also tried to dodge. Unfortunately, the creature, it was already too late. The arrow had pierced through its chest and stained the ground with a whole puddle of red. Celestial fox, 2. Despite the audible thud as the celestial fox crashed into the ground, the creature never once took its eyes off Bai Xiaqin's figure. It's as if it still didn't understand what's happening. Meanwhile, further behind where Bai Yen stood, a beautiful young-looking maiden had come out with a bow in hand. Proud and cocky in the face. Celestial fox, I've waited a long time for you to come out. Let's see how you will escape from us. It took a moment for Bai Yen to come back to her senses from all this, but when she did, her eyes dilated inwards and caused her to jerk into action. Pulling a bottle out from storage, she swiftly gathered the needed blood and handed it to her boy. Xiaqin, leave here with your siblings. Find a safe place and then drink this blood. Unfortunately, the kid clearly didn't agree and firmly shook his little head. Leave now. She frowns. Don't forget. You said you have to protect your sister. I'll handle the matter here, so leave. Despite the unwillingness to depart, Bai Xiaqin nevertheless did as told after casting a look down to the 2 babies in his arms. He ran for the nearby bushes to first get cover. This celestial fox was first discovered by me, so it's mine, said the young beautiful maiden who had a cocky appearance. So you better scram. Pursing her own lip, Bai Yen ignored the clamor and reached for a medicinal pill instead to hand over to the fox. Eat this. Startled by what it's seeing, the celestial fox didn't understand why a human would want to save itself. You hurt me, but you also saved my son, so we're even now. This pill is the reward for what you gave. Not giving a proper reply, the celestial fox swallowed the offering without struggle. It understood there's nothing else to lose at this point, and that was the right choice because the bleeding and pain immediately stopped. Who allowed you to touch my thing? The pompous girl exclaims, eyes flaring with anger. Expressionless on her own face still, Bai Yen slowly gets back up from leaning down to confront the livid girl. Who says this fox is yours? She was drawn in because of me and has nothing to do with you. Snorting at the rebuttal, the girl smirks derisively. I am the big miss of the Celestial clan, and our relationship with the Celestial Palace is deep and intertwined. If you offend me, then only bad things will come your way. This celestial fox is something I've had my eye on for a long, while so naturally it's mine. Those who try to rob me of my things will never end well. Unfazed by the useless threat, Bai Yen tightly grasps onto her godslayer, which glinted dangerously under her wield. I will not let you have it. In that case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Gritting with frustration, the arrogant lass snaps back to her party. You bunch go kill this woman for me. I'm taking this celestial fox now. Yes, miss. Immediately, the group surrounded the target from all sides, their weapons brandishing with killing intent. Even so, despite having no room for escape at this point, Bai Yen didn't fret and looked on with uncaring indifference. Truth was she already figured out their strength: 1 lower-level high divine, 8 average middle divine, and a dozen entry-level middle divines. Celestial Fox, 3. It's exactly then the group attacked, leaving only the high divine assailant in the back to observe. Bai Yen saw this and reacted, of course. The first to come at her was a middle divine which she blocked with her sword, but the force alone still managed to push her back several feet. Even worse was the internal injury. She's almost ready to throw up blood, due to just giving birth. The celestial fox struggled to get up using this chance, but its body was too severely injured and lacked the strength. After several attempts, it fell back down and couldn't move. At the same time, Shintianyu girl once again drew her bow using a thin sword from her back basket. This was the same weapon she used to injure the fox the first time around, and it's sparking with purplish zaps of lightning even before it's shot. Her aim, the head of the celestial fox. Despite already fending off multiple individuals after being ganged up upon, Bai Yan still noticed this and had the time to stop her. With a swinging wave of her godslayer, she sets off a storm of dust and cloud at the cheeky lass and blinded her sight. Livid at the interruption, Shintianyu yells out again, "What are you all waiting for? Hurry and finish this blasted woman. I want to give her a real beating for attacking me." In order to succeed in this hunt, she deliberately took out the thunder bow from her father's treasury just to catch the animal because it's able to suppress the incredible speed of fast creatures. And since the celestial fox only had its speed going for it, the bow was the perfect weapon. As the battle continued to drag on, Bai Yan's condition worsened and began to show visible signs of deterioration. She's losing strength incredibly fast following each strike, and sweat could be seen along her forehead at this point. It's so bad that even the Dan pills in her possession aren't able to recoup the energy loss. Just like that, an unexpected palm strike eventually hits her from the back and causes her to fly forward until she hits a nearby tree. She's covered in blood as a result, mainly due to her spewing it from the mouth and sprinkling along the dress. Things are not looking good at this rate. I really don't know if you are stupid or not, going this far for a simple animal. That celestial fox can at most only be turned into a vest. Why are you making our celestial clan into your enemy? Is it worth it? Shintianyu says this with a cold grin and contemptuous eyes. That's right, the sole reason this arrogant lass was after the fox was because of that snowy white fur. She wants to turn it into a vest for herself to wear. A fashion statement. Swaying as she forces herself to get back up, Bai Yan decisively wipes the trickle of blood from her mouth. I've already said it, you can't take it away. I've already said it, you can't take it away. Those words were like a shocking revelation for the celestial fox. Looking up with tears of gratitude pouring forward, the fox kept sobbing and making cries of sadness. Swish! The man who was the high divine level finally took action then after watching idly from the sidelines for so long. Drawing that burning sword of his from the scabbard, the person went straight for Bai Yan's sloppy figure. Celestial Fox 4. But right before the killing blow could be made against Bai Yan, who was already at her last leg in that critical moment, a snowy white figure suddenly dashes in and deflects the sword. Even so, the attack of a high divine wasn't to be trifled with. Instantly, the poor fox got knocked backwards and crashed into the nearest cluster of bushes. Bai Yan got stiff as a rock once she realizes what just transpired. There's an indescribable sensation brewing within her heart, and she didn't know what it was. Truth be told, the main reason she helped save the celestial fox in the beginning wasn't really out of concern for the poor creature. It's for the sake of her own son. The blood she collected was at most a single vial's worth. What if he needed more in order to recover? However, she honestly didn't think that the celestial fox would take such a ferocious blow for herself in the final moment. His body is so frail and thin. How can it bear the blow? Staggering over to the near lifeless fox, she reaches down with her trembling hands and held the poor thing up to her face. As much as she wanted to hold back the emotions, the tears just won't stop and trickled down the lady's cheek to showcase her sorrow for the situation. Why? Even though the celestial fox didn't have any malice or ill intent from when they first met, the fact remains the little thing attacked her. So what's going on here? All she did was protect the fox one time, and it's going this far and would even go as far as to throw her life away? Who said demonic beasts are heartless and cruel? They are more affectionate than humankind. Perhaps the celestial fox was able to sense the aching emotions in the lady. But the poor thing actually began to lick Bai Yan's hand as if to comfort her. Not wanting to know what would happen if she's slow now, the woman swiftly pulls out another bottle of healing tonic, a much higher grade of medicine, to pour onto the fox's wound. Then, as if worried that's not enough, she brings out another pill to feed it. Naturally, the little thing didn't reject the offering and ate it without a thought. Just that instead of wariness, the fox's tail was wagging left and right like an animal that's being petted. Bang! Countless attacks rained down from the rear yet again. In her urgency, Bai Yan's only recourse was to use her own body as a shield for the celestial fox against those aggressive strikes. Due to this, she got blown away yet again, and this time the blood from her mouth was even worse than the last as it splattered along the snow-covered ground. Mother! In the moment where she landed, a childish cry of fear came from the back, thus causing the poor woman to go rigidly stiff. Looking up, she could see it was her own son running over. Xiaqin, did I not tell you to leave with your siblings? Bai Yan cries out with her face going pale. Already coming before his mother, the little steam bun was firm and strong right now. Don't worry, mother. I've already hidden my brother and sister somewhere. They won't be in danger. You? Gasping at her son's reddish eye still being there. Didn't you take the vial of blood I gave you? It must be fresh for it to be effective, otherwise it will lose its use. The boy didn't give a direct answer, only twisting his head to one side to show that brilliant smile that he always does. Mother, if one day I can't be with you anymore, will you miss me? A shudder ran through the poor mother's heart, pulling her mood to the bottom. Don't talk nonsense, Xiaqin. You will never leave me. Song's arrival 1. By this point the enemies are done listening to their conversation and began to attack. Due to this, Bai Yan had no choice but to let the fox in her hand down so she could fight. She's ready to make the final stand with her Godslayer at this stage of the battle. Xiaqin, you wait here for me. Giving one last hug to her boy, she firmly holds onto her blade for the impending showdown. The closest enemy to the woman surely knew what she intended to do next. But even then, it wasn't enough to protect themselves from the incredible burst of force coming out of the sword, once Bai Yan activated its power with her own. It blew the first line of attackers right off their feet. Knowing this was her chance, Bai Yan quickly uses this opening to swallow one of her replenishment pills to regain some strength. Unfortunately, perhaps it's because of how often she ate this pill already during the fighting, but the speed in which she healed had clearly reduced significantly compared to earlier. In fact, the only reason she's even able to stand upright was thanks to the sword in her hand. Otherwise, she would have collapsed back to the ground. That's how exhausted she truly was inside. You all move aside. The High Divine Elder finally lost his patience and snapped out to his subordinates. Immediately, the circling line splits apart and created an opening for the person to come forward. Girl, I admit your perseverance is worthy of admiration. However, sarcastically sneering, you are but a small grain among the many. While our miss here is the shining moon in the night sky, you can never compete with her. Only doom and misery await people like you. Boom! In an instant, the wind surges all around the area, created by the massive strength coming out of the gray-robed elder when he raised his hand to strike. This old man clearly didn't use his all when attacking Bai Yan the first time around, but now he's no longer fooling around and mustered everything into his strike. If it lands, a sure kill would be the only ending. But not all hope was lost. Right as Bai Yan's finding it difficult just to breath under that oppressive might, Bai Xiaqin suddenly threw himself in front of that oncoming attack. This should have been the worst outcome possible, having a kid die in front of his own mother. Yet this doesn't seem to be the case. The kid's entire body was shrouded in a freaky flame of red that oozed a sense of danger and carnage. It's as if his soul has been consumed by the 9 levels of hell and reborn as a devil. Mother, if one day I can no longer stay by your side, will you miss me? Those words once again rang across her mind. She wanted to cry out for him to stop, but the voice in her throat just wouldn't come out like someone had ripped it out of her body. So, the only thing this poor woman knew how to do was to try to reach out with her hands. Yet, right before Bai Yan's fingers could make contact, that once adorable little steam bun had turned around again with his head to meet hers. Unlike before though, there's no longer that kind and warm gaze she's come to expect, only cold hard indifference in those red irises that seemingly felt devoid of humanity. Cusping her mouth with both hands, she now understood what has happened. Song's arrival, too. She's never seen her son in such a state before, at the very least not to this extent. For example, even though Bai Xiaqin did come close when those shadow guards tried to kill them both on the cusp of the demon realm's border, the kid still had a sense of humanity left in him. But there's none of that anymore. You, Able to sense the strong level of sadness in Bai Yan's behavior, the celestial fox sobs for her, and then made a timid look towards the boy. The little fella's body was shaking against that terrifying burning aura. Xiachen? Reaching out with her hand, Bai Yan wanted to touch that face to reassure herself that the worst-case scenario hasn't happened yet. However, the boy himself wouldn't let her and turned back to face the enemies with his bloodthirsty eye. Why is this happening? Didn't Ditsong say the wisp of grudge must rely on Xiachen to survive? Why does it look like my son is gone? Elder Shun, this is but a child. Hurry up and kill him so we can move on. Shin Tianyu forms a frown on the face and started to grow increasingly more impatient at the repeated delay. Yet the old man didn't move as told. He's staring intently at the freakish boy because his heart was throbbing with unease right now, something that shouldn't be possible. The rest of the Goonies, on the other hand, couldn't care less. In their mind, such a child wouldn't pose a threat at all, and they themselves only need to heed Shin Tianyu's command. Of the bunch, the one at the forefront moved the fastest, and he's also the one who swung his weapon at the boy first. But speed wasn't a factor in this exchange, though. Without moving an inch, Bai Xiachen just stared at the assailant and froze him in the air like a petrified statue. It's then under this state the horrified individual felt it, the monumental force of a mountain's worth coming in from all sides against his limbs. For those watching in the back, too afraid to intervene, they only saw their poor comrade being flattened little by little. Before they knew, what used to be a human being has now become a pile of flesh, a meat pie in the shape of a cube. No words could begin to explain the intense horror circulating across this mountain peak right now. Simply speechless, that's all there was to it. Run! The first to come back to their senses was the High Divine Elder Shin. He turned tail and fled at the highest speed his body would allow. But there's no way the little red-eye devil here would allow this group to leave, would he? In a flash of blurring movement, the boy was already in front of the elder and firmly grasping onto that shoulder. With a horrific sound of flesh and bone being torn, he rips that arm right off and causes blood to splatter everywhere, staining him and the snow-white ground. The old fella screamed in pain, but he could not care so much anymore. In a swift and decisive act, he grabbed Shin Tianyu with his remaining good arm and fled for the bottom of the mountain. Meanwhile, the others weren't so lucky in this case. Their speed was nowhere as fast and swiftly fell one by one under the hands of the little steam bun. Once he was done with that, Bai Xiachen returns again to face Bai Yan, his eyes aglow of eerie red. Di Tsong's arrival 3. In light of those murderous eyes, Bai Yan didn't feel fear at all. She's the mother of this boy, so the only thing she wants to do right now was to smile at him and give him a hug. I know you want me to hold you. I'm here now, so come to my arms. But you and your brother are both my children, and I know you are a good child at heart. So, can you tell me where he went? Di Tsong mentioned it to her before. This Xiachen was the previous incarnation of her own unborn child, making this grudge effectively her own baby. Despite the plea and effort to rouse a conversation, this version of the little steam bun didn't reply, only slowly walking over with that expressionless face and dangerous-looking set of eyes that frightened even the strongest of hearts. Even so, despite all these warning flags of danger, Bai Yan didn't flinch or cower. She only wanted to reach out to give him a hug, which she did try to do once they were only a few feet apart. However, it's right at this crucial moment that a beam of purplish spark came shooting down from the sky. Next thing the woman knew was that she has found herself in the arms of her own husband. Oh-you-you-you-h-h-h-h. The celestial fox instantly had its fur raised as soon as it saw Di Tsong's peerless face. The behavior of the little creature was similar to someone stepping on its tail because it completely ignored its own injury then and ran for the peak. At this stage, Bai Yan didn't have the attention or energy left to worry about the fox's departure. Stiffly asking the man holding herself, Di Tsong, what are you doing here? If I didn't come then, how are you supposed to take care of yourself? He's not our son anymore. Once he's possessed by that grudge, he will no longer recognize any of us. Bai Yan knew that, of course. She's not foolish or blind to the fact that her boy's condition are spiraling out of control. But it's still her son. I can handle this. Raising her hand, She pushes Song aside so that she could look at her boy again, smiling in the face. Child, don't be afraid and come to me. I will protect you. Xiachen still didn't utter a single word, only staring straight at Song's figure. Then, as if able to sense the hostility towards itself, the little figure started to release its killing intent before he suddenly pounced at his old man's throat. Kill! Kill everyone! Song's expression darkened at this picture. Nevertheless, the only reaction he did was to sidestep and narrowly avoided the punch. Song, seeing how the two males of his life are about to go at each other's throat, Bai Yan also lost it. Without thinking, she threw herself in between them both. Bang! That punch heavily hits into her stomach, causing blood to spew out of her mouth for the third time today. Yenner! Exclaiming with a face so white it's frightening, Song quickly rushes up to catch the collapsing woman. Why did you block it? This little thing is not my opponent. Coughing as she tried to speak, Bai Yan somehow manages to struggle back despite her terrible state. I'm fine. You don't have to worry. Besides, she doesn't want them to fight. Meanwhile, on the other side, Bai Xiachen's bloodthirsty eyes had stopped locking onto the Demon King. Instead, it's fixated on his own little fist. It's clear that something was stirring inside his heart because it looks like incredible pain was going through that face right now. Song's arrival for... Why? Why is this happening? I killed so many people already and didn't feel a thing, so why is my heart throbbing so badly right now from just punching her? It's like, I forgot something important. You mustn't hurt Mother. It's then a voice echoed within his mind, causing the boy to squat down and hold his head in agony. I am willing to give you forever control of this body provided that you protect Mother. If you dare to hurt her, then I will rather destroy my own soul to take you with me. The echoing voice may be childish, but it's filled with anger and rage. Shut up, you shut up. The more he said that, the more in pain the kid seems to be in. She is our mother, and the most important person in my life. You are right, I am too weak to protect my mother. It's the reason I gave you control of my body. It's to protect our mother, so how can you hurt her? Ah! He suddenly breaks out into a scream like he's tearing his heart out. Then, without any indication, he shoots up from the ground and glared at everything in his vicinity. I'm going to kill everyone. In his heart, there has always been a voice. It told him he must kill everything in this world. Only then can he feel safe inside. Therefore, he must not let anyone interfere with his mind. I said it already. You're not allowed to hurt Mother. Bang! The little boy quickly rushed at his parents with his body bursting into flame. Despite this fact, he ignored it and continued to move forward with increased vigor. Xiachen! Bai Yan nearly lost her soul watching the self-destructing image of her own son. Pushing her husband aside without a second thought, she rushed forward as well and forcefully pulled the kid into her arms. If it was a normal flame, then this act would have been a huge mistake for the woman. She would be severely burned. However, it's as if the fire had a mind of its own, but the hot temperature didn't harm her one bit. Nevertheless, it still left her heart thumping with anxiety. Xiachen, I know you're there. You've always been there. You killed those people for me, that's why you gave him control of your body and sealed yourself, right? Shaking in her hand, Bai Yan's tears wouldn't stop trickling out. The little boy's body froze over that plea. Why is this embrace so warm? Why is it so nostalgic? Xiachen, you have already sacrificed your freedom for me, so why are you doing this to yourself? Do you want me to grieve the rest of my life after you die? It's obvious to Bai Yan this burning flame was the result of her own son trying to stop this grudge from hurting her. That's why he's burning his own soul as the expense to put an end to this tragedy. After all, a grudge wouldn't be a grudge if the soul itself was destroyed. Listen to me, Xiachen. The reason I searched for the celestial fox's blood is because I didn't want him to disappear, but I also don't want your destruction to be the price. You are my child, the baby I bore after 10 months. If you are gone, then I can't live either. Song's arrival 5. Do not know if her words truly did have an effect or not, but the killing intent hovering around the boy's body did start showing signs of dissipating following her plea this time around. Eventually, Even the burning flame had disappeared and returned to the dormant silence from within. In spite of this sudden turn of event, Bai Yen didn't let go of her hands. Instead, she hugged the little boy even tighter until tears began to drip down to those shoulders. Yenner. Dai Tsong's gaze never once left his son's figure during all this. Though he could tell the most critical moment has passed with the kid, but he still wouldn't leave it up to chance or his guard down. Let go first. I will eliminate this wisp of grudge from his body. Xiaqin's soul is sealed within his body right now, so there won't be any effect on him. At most, he will sleep for a period. Afterwards, I will find a way to lift the seal and free him again. Bai Yan's body had frozen over regarding that suggestion because her mind immediately shot back to the time where she met that ghoul-like version of her son. That grievance, that sadness, it could never be forgotten. That's how memorable that image was in her memory. Half a ring later, she turns back to face her husband. Di Tsong, I still want to try. He doesn't remember you and has no humanity inside of him. You have to know this point. He frowns and explains again. Bai Yen, on the other hand, was done with the conversation. Returning to the boy, she doesn't stop smiling in a reassuring and warm manner. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you back then. You must have wanted to come to this world, and you must have wanted me to hold you, right? The little boy's body shuddered a bit over the notion. Regardless, he still allowed those hands to reach over without struggle. That warmth, it's breathtakingly comfortable for some reason, and he didn't want to reject this feeling like a lost little lamb. Don't worry. Those who harmed us and made us separate in the past life, I won't let any of them go. Firm in her eyes as she makes that vow, the woman then prints a kiss on the child's forehead to seal the promise. I will also find a way to protect both you and Xiaqin. I won't let either of you disappear. That finally did it. The bloodthirstiness which plagued the boy for oh so long has finally dispersed, replaced entirely by tears and a sobbing cry of a childish voice. Though it's dry and hoarse like the dead, it's still that of a child's. Mother. Crossing the barrier of time and space, this poor baby finally has his chance to call out the one word he never could. Quivering across her body over this cry of a baby to their mother, Bai Yen hugged him even tighter like the act would never be enough. Di Tsong in the meantime could only stand on the side and silently watch the pair huddle together. He had no room to join us because right now it's their moment and not his. Is this what they call mother and son bond? But why can he only remember his mother and not father? Isn't this a little too biased? Mother, I miss you. As the boy says that, the dam holding back those tears has now collapsed and causes the fluid to stain the woman's dress. I'm sorry. I never should have forgotten. No, the one to be sorry is me. I didn't protect you properly last life, but I promise you I will protect Xiaqin for sure, so don't worry. Di Tsong's arrival, 6. A big smile drew itself onto the little boy's face over that promise, which roused a startled look from Bai Yen. In this mother's view, this ghoul-like version of her son had always been sad and grieving. Never did she ever seen him smile in any way or form. To think he too could make such a warm and brilliant smile was beyond her expectations. Mother, being able to hold you like this, I'm finally satisfied. Of the many reasons his grudge would never disperse even after reincarnation, one was because he died before being born at the hands of those people. The other was that he couldn't give Bai Yen a real huge in light of coming so close to entering this world. He only wants to embrace his mother. Just once, even once would have been enough. But mother, between me and him, which do you like more? With his reddishly blood-colored eyes, the boy looks up with hope and anticipation. If only one of us can exist, which of us will you choose? The question left Bai Yen choked for words because that's a dilemma no parent would ever want to choose. Obviously sensing the hesitancy in her voice, the boy hangs his head down again. I am not a person. I'm only a wisp of grudge left behind from the previous life. If between an unreal entity like myself and a real soul, I know mother will choose the soul. It's okay, I understand. I'm the unwanted one here after all. I should have been long gone by now. Hurrying to hug him even tighter, Bai Yen frowns and refutes that logic. Don't say anything stupid. Since when have I thought of you as an unreal entity? You are my child, you and Xiaqin both are my baby boys. Don't worry, with the help of the celestial fox's blood, you two can live together in equilibrium. Shaking his little head, the boy knew that's not true. No, I can sense the power coming off of the celestial fox's blood. It will transfer my strength to Xiaqin. By then, I will disappear on my own. What? Bai Yan's figure visibly stiffened up. If he takes the blood of the celestial fox, then he will disappear. So that means Chu-Yi God deceived me? Mother, the reason I went to your dream to search for you is because I was unhappy and resentful of not being able to accompany you. And I couldn't hug you. Now that I know you love me, I am satisfied. Truth was this ghoul version of Bai Xiaqin had always been able to see the outside world through the eyes of the regular version, so he knew full well what Bai Yan intended to do with that fox blood. Pity though, the good gesture was for naught because it wouldn't have done what it was supposed to do. I've said it. I'll find a way to allow both of you to live in this body together. Growing increasingly more anxious in the face, Bai Yan presses her hands against the boy's shoulder to show she means it, grinning. Actually, what that person said is not entirely false. The celestial fox's blood can merge me and the other me together, just that I'm a grudge deprived from the soul in the past. It's the main reason why the other me is always so bright and happy. He's lacking the dark side that is I in his soul. If I merge with him, then that would in essence bring us back into one, and I too would be part of him forever again. Perhaps if this grudge hadn't existed to begin with and stayed with Bai Xiaqin's soul from the start, his personality might not be as lovable and cuddly as now. Maybe this wasn't the real personality the little steam bun should have had. Maybe he needs this grudge to become whole again. Stiffly turning to her own husband for confirmation, Bai Yan appeared almost distraught in the face. Is what he said true? That he will disappear completely inside Xiaqin's soul if I use the fox blood? As adamant as he was about bringing the bad news, Song eventually nodded. I never told you this method is because, it's true, it can help our son become whole again, but it will also mean he over there will disappear for good and live on as another part of our boy. Boom! Like a sunny day being hit by a thunderstorm from out of the blue, Bai Yan's already injured and struggling body finally gave in. She could hardly keep her footing and fell to the ground, those fists tightly clenching from pain and anger until she could barely breathe. It's suffocating knowing what she nearly did with her own two hands. Blood for blood, one. Yenner, finding the increasingly poor mood around his wife's face, Song knew he had to do something, hugging her to give comfort. You don't have to be too sad, after all. They are supposed to be one and the same to begin with. He won't disappear like you think. He will only live on within Xiaqin as one being. Biting her own lips, Bai Yan still didn't like how things are turning out. Other than that, is there no more way? Having her abandon this little guy was just too difficult for her to accept. Song understood why his wife was acting this way. It's not like he's heartless towards his own child. He too would like to find an alternative method if possible. However, he's been searching and investigating for quite some time already, and this was likely the best option they had at hand. Shuddering when she got no answer, Bai Yan hugs her boy again and closes those pained eyes. Song, if we leave Xiaqin in this state, will he be in any danger? She asks again after a long moment of silence. Shaking his head. No, there won't be any as long as Xiaqin's soul remains intact. Right now he's only sealed within that body and gave control to the wisp of grudge. Other than the loss of freedom, there's nothing else that's going to put him in peril. Slightly dropping her head, a faint smile carves itself onto the woman's face. Xiaqin, if it were you, what would you choose? Maybe you would also like to give him a chance. I don't believe there's no other way, Song. I'm sure if I look hard enough, then there's going to be a mean to allow them both to exist in this world on their own without bringing harm to one another. Seeing the insistence and determined face of his wife, Song could only sigh and accept the plea. Nodding. All right, if you want to leave him as is for now, then I'll help you. The request undoubtedly brought happiness to the little boy, who never once left Bai Yan's arms. Even though his eyes are still the color of that bloodthirsty red, it's nevertheless full of a warmth and kindness now when staring up at Bai Yan's face. At the same It also gave off an uncomfortable, strong intent, like he's trying to engrave the woman's contour into his eyes, so that he would never forget it. Sure enough, right as the two parents were conversing on what to do next and freed the little boy, the ghoul version of Bai Xiachen had snuck over to one side and pulled out the bottle of blood he hid inside his coat. By the time Bai Yan realizes what was happening, it was already too late. To her horror, she witnessed the boy popping the cork and drinking that shiny red fluid down in one full swing. No! She screams with agonizing pain, tears stretching out into a streak as she dived over in a vain attempt to stop this. Sadly for Bai Yan, all was done by the time she managed to grapple the bottle from those little hands. She knew it's over. Whatever plan or wish she had planned to save both boys were forever gone. Mother, perhaps if not for you, then I would never have awoken from that state I was in. Wiping the trickle of blood still lingering around the corner of his lip, he continues to speak as the effects began to show itself. First it was the harshness around his voice, then the redness in his eyes fading. Back then you sacrificed yourself in order to save the demon realm. As your son, I can't put a blemish on your record either. Mother, please always remember me. I know I won't. Blood for blood, too. My only hope for giving up my existence is to protect you, because to me, you are my world. Mother, can you give me one last kiss on the forehead? Now the boy's entire body has become shrouded in a red glowing light, an indication the merging was almost complete. Without ado, Bai Yan leans down and tightly wounds her arms around his body before giving a tearful kiss on the forehead as requested. She couldn't stop sobbing at this point. Appeased and smiling, the boy then turns to Ditsong to speak using an apologetic voice. Father, I'm sorry, but I didn't deliberately try to hurt you. I only forgot about you. You have to protect Mother from now on, and don't let Xiachen lose his mother again. It's enough for him alone to suffer the grievances of losing their mother. He doesn't want his new incarnation to go through the same thing in this life. Quietly coming before his son as well, Ditsong grasps onto that creepily cold hand. Don't worry, I will take care of her. I promise you, my son. That was all the words this resenting grudge needed to hear. As if released from its constraints, the dreary air of cold bloodthirstiness completely dissipates from the air as the final last glint of light leaves the boy's eye. Right now, there's no more movement from Bai Xiachen's body because whatever was done has finished. Ditsong. Bai Yan croaks this out from her pained voice. Do you think those from the Celestial Palace deserves to die? Unable to bear this picture, Ditsong reaches down and uses his large muscular arms to embrace his wife and unconscious child. Yes, they deserve that for what they've done to our family. As if provoked by those words, Bai Yan suddenly breaks out into a hysterical laughing fit. There's madness in her eyes, the kind that could only be created after they've lost someone closest to them. Yener, I'm fine, Ditsong, you don't have to worry about me. That said, Bai Yan then slowly rose from the ground with her son in hold. During this time I'm going to stay at this mountain. It's very suitable for me to train here. Meeting his wife's gaze over that startling request, Ditsong had to take a good moment to accept this fact. If that's your decision, then I will support you. For Bai Yan, this period would be very important for herself. The reasoning being that once she leaves this mountain again, it would be the day she exacts her revenge on those from the Celestial Palace. Blood for blood, life for life. I'll be here with you. Bai Yan merely pursed her lips in silence. Staring down at her boy, the poor woman only has one question left in her mind. When will Xiachen wake up? He took the blood of the celestial fox, so it won't be for a while before he wakes up. The soul inside still needs to break the seal on its own. Nodding at that, all right, you step aside first. I want to call the celestial fox out again. She is more familiar with this peak, so it will be more convenient to have her guide us around. Ditsong's face went black at being dismissed. True, it's a fact that the celestial fox doesn't like the opposite sex, so he couldn't do much in this department. As such, the poor demon king could only obediently head for the base of the mountain on his own. Scanning the surrounding area after being left alone. Celestial fox, I know you haven't left yet. Come out. Sure enough, a small head immediately poked itself out of a nearby tree, probing carefully for any signs of the male sex. Blood for blood 3. When she saw that Deetsong's figure was nowhere to be seen anymore, the celestial fox finally lowered the disgust in its eyes and bounced right back out into the open. You little thing, weren't you acting all fierce when attacking me before? Bai Yen sends a knock with her knuckle against the fox's forehead after seeing that wagging tail. In return, the little fella only made a wooing sound to show its apology. That's because I thought you were part of those bad people. I didn't know you were not with them. It's then right as the celestial fox felt safe in the woman's arm. The disgusting scent of a man had caught its nose again. Immediately, her first instinct was to make a dash for the bushes after puffing up that fur. Unfortunately for the fox, it's already too late. Catching her by the collar, Deetsong angrily stares down at the animal in his hands with a dark, menacing face. If not for you hating the male sex, my wife wouldn't have had to come here alone. If not for you being such a pest, my wife wouldn't have attracted those bastards either. Now how should I deal with you for making all this trouble? It's exactly as the Demon King says. Bai Yen only came into extreme danger because of this fox attracting the celestial clan's attention and bringing the hunting party over. Otherwise, she could have given birth without issue, albeit at never getting the blood for Bai Shachin. Ooh-hoo-hoo. The celestial fox struggled violently and didn't back down from Deetsong's face. In fact, the disgust in its eyes towards the man never lightened up in the least and only grew stronger. Narrowing his eyes in as well. Yenner, how about we eat a fox today for dinner? This threat instantly causes the fox to freeze up and not move anymore. It's tearing up at her own unfortunate fate because she really regrets coming out of hiding today. Owa, this horrible man. How can he eat my flesh when he's also a fox? It's terrible. I knew it. Men are not good at all. Deetsong. She saved me, so quit scaring her. Bai Yen reaches over to bring the celestial fox back into her fold. Celestial fox, I'm really curious. Why do you hate men so much to begin with? Did they do something to you? It should have been easy to answer that question. But the little fella only stared at the woman in a dazed-like manner and didn't utter a peep. Why does she hate men so much? Actually, the celestial fox herself doesn't know either. All she knows was that something inside kept insisting on the matter, like someone did a horrible thing to her in the past. In the end, the fox could only shake its head to fling off the murky sensation. Then, as if that wasn't enough, she also pawed at Bai Yan's sleeve with teary eyes to plead for help against the Demon King still glaring daggers at herself. Don't worry, celestial fox. He is my husband, so he won't hurt you. Anyways, I want to ask you something else first. Just now my son hid away my other 2 babies somewhere. Do you know where they are? Apparently the fox did know because her eyes instantly lit up. Jumping down from Bai Yan's arm, she ran a couple of steps forward, and then didn't forget to turn around to beckon the woman to follow with a squeak. Deetsong wouldn't stay behind in this case, of course, but he did make sure to keep a little distance to avoid scaring the pesky fella again. Furthermore, he didn't trust the celestial fox one bit, or more exactly, he's grumpy and sour at being left behind by his wife due to this fox. Hidden deep within the sky mountain where snow was abundant, there's in fact a sacred area that's shielded off from the outside world. As an alchemist and a fluent user of spell matrices, Bai Yen was naturally able to notice this fact even from afar. Even so, she couldn't help but wonder who could have created such an amazing and complex barrier at the peak of this strange terrain. No wonder humans have such trouble climbing this mountain. The original creator of this barrier is a master spell user. Blood for blood 4. After entering the barrier and walking some more, Bai Yen suddenly halts in her footsteps after finding what she wanted. Up ahead were a bunch of animals, and in the middle was a white female fox acting as a bed for 2 adorable little babies who were constantly giggling and waving their hands into the air. It's obvious the 2 were enjoying their time right now and weren't in any danger. How did Jin Tian boy and Ling Yen girl get here? And how did Shachin find this place? Bai Yen asks with a surprised face, which got a long squeak from the fox again. You mean it's these animals who brought and hid them here? She could mostly make out the meaning there based on the nods given by her little friend. It does make sense though. The outside was icy cold and unsafe for a newborn, making this cave an ideal hiding spot if there's some kind of warmth to keep the babies away from the frostbiting temperature. Specifically, the mother fox that's currently using its body as a bed for the two babies. Yenner, you're tired. Give him to me and I'll carry him. Seeing there's no ulterior motive here, Deetsong decides to step in and offer to take care of their son who is still unconscious and clearly a weight on his wife who hasn't recovered yet. No. Her arm grows even tighter around the boy over that suggestion. I want to hold Xiachen a bit longer. Once I start my training later, then I won't have much time to spend with him. The energy particles within this cave was even more dense than the area outside, making it an ideal place to further her own strength and make a breakthrough. This time I won't leave here until I reach the high divine. Deetsong could tell there's no persuading his wife at this point now that she's decided on the matter. Turning to the two babies instead who are still playing with the animals. Yenner, it's been hard on you. It's always like this. Whenever she gives birth, I can never be there by her side. I fail as a husband. Bai Yen shakes her head. No, Deetsong. It's nothing I can't handle. Anyways, our daughter's name is Di Ling Yen, and our son's name is Di Jin Tian. Likely able to understand their mother was calling their name, the two adorable little meat buns actually began to wiggle around mischievously and causes their bed to go on alert. The white fox knew she had to keep the babies atop of herself to keep them warm, but she honestly never thought both babies would try to wiggle onto the ground at the same time. As a result, the fox only manages to catch the girl and miss the boy entirely who landed on the ground. Oddly enough, Di Jin Tian didn't get hurt like one would expect in this case. Instead, he merely transformed into a tiny little silver fox upon hitting the dirt. And as if to shake off the confusion from the little bump, he starts crawling in Bai Yan's direction. Mother, hug. Because she had prior experience in giving birth, Bai Yan didn't find it surprising her two newborns are also able to speak like her first. Squatting down, Mother needs to hold on to your older brother right now, so I can't give you a hug. You have to be considerate of him. Okay? What is considerate? Without surprise, the little Jin Tian didn't comply and only showed a confused and dazed look like he didn't get it at all. In the baby boy's mind, he only wants to hug his mother. So, like any newborn would do, he puckers up his lips like he's about to cry, and then turned to the next best thing nearby, his own father who was also staring down at him. As a father, Deetsong also likes to hold his children but never really got the chance since he was not there for the firstborn. Now that the second son was looking his way and likely willing to accept him, how could he not be overjoyed? Unfortunately for him, though, the great demon king was overthinking this when he reached down in an attempt to lift the baby up. Mother, hug. Di Jin Tian turns back to Bai Yen in light of the offering hand and instead reached out with both paws for the woman. Yenner, he's a man. Let him crawl on his own. Deetsong sourly says this with steam puffing out of his head. He's calling a newborn baby a man? Which part of Jin Tian looks like a man? Bai Yen thought, her mouth twitching awkwardly from disbelief. Unable to resist the plea anymore, Bai Yen loosens one of her arms around Bai Xiachen to pick the tiny fella up from the floor for a snuggle. Though it's more difficult to keep two kids on herself, she's nevertheless enjoying it all the more. Blood for blood. 5. Mother, hungry, want milk. The tiny silver fox pleads, his eyes blinking innocently without a clue of the looks he's getting. After a quick musing, Bai Yen relented and placed her eldest into Deetsong's arms. Take care of Xiachen for me. I'll feed them right now. Without ado, little Di Ling Yen also crawls over to Bai Yan's side by this point after hearing there's food involved. Unlike a newborn though, she didn't show any of the wrinkles that's expected of a freshly birthed baby. She's absolutely adorable and cute, making one want to hug and cuddle her at first glance. Yenner, wait. Seeing how his wife's about to untie her upper dress, Deetsong frowns and stops her. Turning to the animals here, his eyes were cool and frosty. What are you all still standing around for? Hurry and scram. Under the Demon King's mighty aura, the gathered creatures all scurried away like frightened little rabbits. Yen, did you try avoiding these animals back in the day when you were feeding Xiachen? Asked the grouchy husband. Giving a humming yes, Bai Yen didn't understand why his husband was acting all upset. I don't recall I ever did avoid them. In my eyes, these animals are no different from cats and dogs. That year when she first arrived in this world through the transfer of her soul, Bai Yen honestly thought nothing of it. What, do everyone avoid cats and dogs when they breastfeed their baby? Of course not. Getting closer to his wife, Song somehow appeared very hurt. So in my wife's heart, I'm no different from a dog and cat? That comment actually left Bai Yen in a stupor for a second. She's unable to process the words at first, but did eventually realize the mistake she did there. Apparently she's been so accustomed to seeing Song in his human form that she's forgotten he's also a fox. This? Musing over her next words, so she doesn't say something bad again, Bai Yen puts on a serious face. You are different from cats and dogs because you're more handsome than they are. Usually Song doesn't like it when people praise his looks. The reasoning, he never wanted such a face to begin with. However, this was coming from his wife. That's different and brought glee to his lips. Yenner, I must correct this bad view of yours. When it comes to us beasts of the animal kingdom, demonkin or regular animal kin, we're all different. Some are very perverted and will gobble you up if they can. Do you not see the eyes of those animals here just now? At the mention, Song's eyes immediately flashed a cold one. Just thinking about those blasted things aiming at his wife's naked body was enough to burn a fire inside his heart. I'll pay more attention then. Bai Yen complies with an almost dejected tone. True, if he didn't mention this fact then she might not even notice. However he did, and she's starting to notice the sparkling eyes of those animals from way back with Shachin and her as well. They're all very focused on her body whenever she breastfed. Oh my god, does that mean I'm a serial flasher? I've been flashing my naked body before those animals so many times that I've lost count. But little Jin Tian, boy, and Ling Yen, girl, wasn't in the mood to care about their mother's woes. In these two babies' mind, they only want food, so the moment they noticed the loosened dress, the pair wasted no time crawling for it. And as a mother, Bai Yen happily obliged them when she noticed them struggling to get into her. For the boy, Jin Tian was surprisingly gluttonous compared to his younger sister. Even after Ling Yen finished her session and fell asleep, the boy kept going and drank for much longer until Bai Yen felt goosebumps run along her skin. Fortunately, this ordeal didn't last forever. About 15 minutes later, the little rascal finally stopped and made a satisfied burp before transforming back to a fat baby boy. Celestial Fox, you can come out now. Bai Yen calls out to the valley after cleaning herself off. Half a ring later, the group of animals once again returned over the beckoning. Blood for blood, 6. Celestial Fox, I will leave Jin Tian and Ling Yen in your care. Bai Yen reluctantly hands the two babies over to the fox. Pursing her lips, I just saw a certain segment of the valley that I liked, so I'll be staying there for my training. If my babies are hungry, then bring them to me, otherwise I need to be alone. The celestial fox squeaked in response, indicating she understood and will do as told. It's just that the disgust in her eyes towards the demon king never abated. By the way, celestial fox, Bai Yen first looks to her husband, then back to the fox. This place also has male animals. Why do you hate men from the outside so much despite this fact? The little fella snorted like the answer was obvious. These are her companions who had been with her since a long time ago. How could they be compared to those abominable men? Regardless, she just hates men. If it wasn't for Bai Yen, she would never have allowed a man to step into her territory. Able to guess the gist of that snort, Bai Yen pats her husband's shoulder as a pitying gesture. So even someone as handsome as Song will be disliked one day. But contrary to the pitying look from his wife, Song didn't feel much from this and even found it nice for a change. In comparison to having those wishful thoughts about himself from those females, this was way better because it won't let Bai Yen misunderstand him. Song, if you have something to do then you can leave first. I'm very safe here in the Sky Mountain. Don't worry, Yenner. Go ahead and be at ease during your training. If the demon realm requires me, then I will go handle it on my own. Okay. She nods, not wanting to be a baggage to the rest of the demon world. Giving one final glance to her eldest boy who was still unconscious, Bai Yen has pretty much tied up any loose ends here on her part. Stealing that heart, she firmly walks toward the mentioned part of the valley. Demon City. After the departure of their king and queen, this new frontier for the demonkin hasn't had a single day of peace thus far. First came the rumor of Ditsong wanting a concubine and driving the queen away. Then came the second invasion of the celestial realm. Thankfully, First Elder and his brothers were able to come out of their closed-door training in the nick of time and repelled the attackers. Otherwise, the damage and loss would be extensive that day. Pity though, due to how quickly and rushed the elders were in returning to making a breakthrough, the rumor about the concubine business still hasn't been cleared up. For that mistake, another year has passed with that hovering in the air. As for the communities in the celestial realm, oddly enough, some were beginning to forget about this demon city after having so little news and action from them thus far. But the celestial palace wouldn't think like that though. They wanted to retake the settlement on many occasions. However, every time they tried to attack in force, Chewy God would promptly send out a warning to stop them in their tracks. Of course, there's one specific individual who dreaded this stalemate the most, and that was Yun Ruoshi. Unlike the rest, only this dreaded imposter knew that the precious charm around her neck, the item signifying her current lifestyle and status, would one day return to its true owner if things doesn't change. "Miss?" a maid calls out after noticing the lady coming out of the room. "The keepers are asking you to meet them in the Great Hall." Blinking her eyes. "The keepers are looking for me? How come? Why are they asking for me when they should be thinking up a plan to deal with the demons?" After a long silence, she pursed her lip and decides to heed the summoning despite the questions in her mind. 1 year later. Inside the great meeting hall, the keepers are already sitting in their respected seats and giving off a majestic air of authority with their presence. This was what Yun Ruoshi walked into, and she felt uncomfortably on edge under their gaze. "Dear keepers, is something the matter for summoning me so urgently?" "Ruoshi, you're here." Speaking out to greet the woman was Keeper Ling, who toned down his cold and frosty expression. "We've been discussing on a certain matter for a while now. It's clear that the Celestial Lord is unhappy with us and won't permit the Celestial Palace to do anything to those demons right now. I'm afraid it will just be a matter of time before our world falls into the hands of those demons." A shade of white gripped Yun Ruoshi's face. When the splitting image of Bai Yen standing above herself again like all those years ago, she would feel immeasurable rage. "No, I won't allow her to step atop of my head again, nor will I let Chu-E God yearn after her for all his life. Revered keepers, please go ahead and instruct me." Drawing her lips into a thin line, Yun Ruoshi appears firm in the eye on wanting to fight. "As long as it's something within my ability, then I would go through fire and ice to achieve it." Nodding pleasantly over the quick reply, Keeper Ling turns back to his brethren, who's also listening in. "Look at Ruoshi, only someone as understanding and kind like her can be called outstanding. Compared to the one brought back by that old coot, her ability is here for all to see." Despite the proud speech, the others didn't comment on it because it did involve their former leader and the previous Bai Yen. Yes, they feared what Bai Yen could do, there's no mistake about that. But it's also true they did like the girl when the old coot first brought her back from the outside. For one thing, the talent portrayed by Bai Yen was leagues ahead of Ruoshi, to the point everyone thought she would eventually be on par with Chewy God. However, fate wouldn't have it, and things quickly spiraled out of their control until, well, they all knew what they did and the sin they committed for the sake of protecting the celestial realm. "Ruoshi, the reasoning for calling you here today is because we have found a way to restore your health to its former state. That year you sacrificed yourself at the risk of your own life to save the Celestial Lord, and now we will return that sacrifice by allowing your power to grow at speeds beyond your imagination." Keeper Zun, Ashen Robe Keeper, softly explains with a smile of his own. Sparkling with elation at the thought of becoming truly strong, Yun Ruoshi jumped on the idea and hurriedly nodded, almost shaking in her voice due to the excitement. "Is that true? I can really continue to cultivate and grow stronger than before? I honestly thought I would never be able to recover." "Of course, why would we lie?" Keeper Zun frowns after remembering the conditions needed. "Just that this method is a bit troublesome. We will need the blood of the most supreme bloodline from the fox race, and it must be from a female baby at that. Right now we only know one that can match the requirement, and that is Demon King Ditsong. Only by drinking his bloodline's blood can we restore your body to its former state and allow your strength to grow exponentially faster. The blood of the Demon King's bloodline? And it must be a female baby fox? Yun Ruoshi bit her own lip in frustration because she knew how impossible that would be. However, as far as we know, there is only one female fox that's related to the Demon King. That Di Xiao one would have been barely good enough to qualify, but she's already come of age, so we cannot use her anymore. 1 year later, too. Unless. But before Keeper Zun could finish his sentence, the always cold and hardliner Keeper Ling had already cut him off with a grunt. Unless we turn to Di Tsong's future daughter, that is. Drain his daughter's blood and then bath in it for 49 days. Afterwards you need to eat her carcass. Only then will your body recover and grow incredibly strong, thus paving the way for your limitless growth. That actually shocked Yun Ruoshi because she didn't even think in that direction. Then again, she didn't mind doing that. Just that where was she supposed to get a Demon King's daughter when there wasn't one around? Bowing her head to avoid eye contact. Revered keepers, isn't this too much? Keeper Zun sighed as well, believing the lady was being too kind instead of only finding the task difficult to do. We don't have any other choice here either. Although we detest the demon realm and its kind, but slaughtering a newborn fox is still a sinful act, we know that. However, we're on our last legs at this point. Snorting again at his fellow brethren, Keeper Ling didn't agree with the indecisive and kind words being thrown around. Demons only, nothing but inferior creatures in this world. Compared to Ruoshi, who will one day rule the celestial realm along with the Lord, how can some lowly fox compare with her future? What's going on, Keeper Ling? Is there something I don't know? She didn't miss the behavior of the elder and caught on it like a cat chasing a mouse. It's widely known that Keeper Ling could be cold and ruthless when needed, but that's only when it's necessary. Normally this elder would always be kind to those around him. If he's this urgent and willing to go this far and insult the other keepers, it must be something extraordinarily huge. It's that prophecy. The prophet from back then predicated a great calamity will befall this world in the coming future. Only by finding the person with the crescent moon amulet will we be saved. Since you are that person carrying the moon amulet around your neck, we must ensure your recovery. Only then can we maintain the peace of the celestial realm. Keeper Zun explains with a bittersweet smile. Going stiff as a rock. Yun Ruoshi quivered inside. What calamity? You mean, how come I never knew of that? No one knows better than herself on how she got her hands on this amulet. The issue now was what's this calamity they are talking about? She's never heard of such thing before. And what if they find out she's a fake and not the real deal? Believing the lady's just nervous at the sudden news and not because she's afraid of being exposed. Keeper Zun softens up his voice in order to help relieve that stress. You don't need to worry too much on this Ruoshi. That prophet is the strongest individual I have ever seen in my lifetime. There's no mistake in what he says. Though he did leave right after giving us that prophecy, there's no reason to doubt his words. That's right, if not for that reasoning, these keepers wouldn't have doted on this impostor for so long, nor would they try to force Chui God to marry this woman. Unfortunately for them, though, that perennially expressionless man had long overtaken them all in terms of strength, forcing these keepers on the defensive regarding that matter and losing control of the celestial palace. Now, despite the kind words of Keeper Zun, it only made the matter worse for Yun Ruoshi. She's absolutely dreading what's coming in the future and could be seen by the visible drain of blood from that face. Then when is the calamity's arrival? She forces this question out there with her quivering voice. We don't know the exact time either, only that we can feel when it's drawing close. Shaking his old head, Keeper Zun, who was among one of the kindest here, also turns stern. Everyone, I like to say something. Gathering the attention of all, we have been at war with the demon realm for ages at this point and even sealed them away for a period. However, the calamity that we all know is coming will destroy us all, the demons included. There's no good outcome if we continued this fight. So, I like to make a suggestion. If Ditsong is willing to produce a young female foxling for Ruoshi to use, then I say we make peace with their kind to deal with the impending crisis. Is everyone with me on this? Once again, Keeper Ling interrupts with sneer. And if Song isn't willing to surrender his daughter, what then? We all know what that demon can do. For a single woman, he wouldn't hesitate to charge into an army back then and wage war against us for years. 1 year later, 3. Without exception, everyone made a shudder upon bringing back up that memory from way back. How could they forget that scene? It was unbelievable, watching that single person charge in an army of tens of thousands and then destroying them all for the sake of a single woman. Not even they themselves could stand in the way of that harbinger of destruction. For a while, silence hangs in the air of this great hall. I understand what everyone is thinking right now, but let's not forget Song still has the demon realm to rule. He may not care about himself, but I doubt he will ignore the survival of his citizens. Keeper Zun finally spoke up after seeing the low morale of his brethren. Sneering in his voice yet again, Keeper Ling points out the flaw in that logic. And how can you be certain he will forsake his own daughter for the well-being of the demon realm? Song is a madman that can give up his own life for a single woman. What makes you think he won't do it again? It's undeniable that of all the realms known to them, the celestial realm was among the strongest. But for Bai Yan alone, Song would wage war against them and nearly succeeded back then. Such a crazy nutcase, who could say for certain they are able to predict his actions? If it really doesn't work, then we can use some other method to persuade him. That wife of his is also an alchemist. I'm sure we can force her in some way to help Ruoxi to recover. Another keeper suggests after listening to the two arguing. Putting on a pitiful and teary face after seeing how they're all pushing herself into the matter. Yun Ruoxi really didn't want to do this. Revered keepers, I am ashamed of making you all expend so much effort on myself. Please, just let me be like this for the rest of my life. I don't want to drag you all down with me. No shit, she doesn't want to recover. If he does, then wouldn't that mean she be pushed into the front lines? That would be catastrophic. Besides, she knows her own talent better than anyone else. What savior of this world? Even back in her prime, she could barely keep up with Bai Yan's growth. And that was thanks to all the treasures and amazing alchemic ingredients given to her by Bai Yan in secret. Yun Ruoxi may believe she's thought up a good excuse on the issue, but that's not what these elders are thinking. Immediately, a set of dissatisfied frowns filled their faces. You don't have to think about it so much, Ruoxi. We're only here to inform you of what we are going to do. For the sake of this world, for the sake of repelling the impending calamity, we will do everything in our powers to help you recover. That was equivalent to a death sentence for the lady. Her heart felt endless horror until she couldn't properly utter another word. Go ahead and rest first, Ruoxi, Keeper Ling continues with a smile. And if you protect the world from that calamity, I'm sure the Lord will also be grateful towards you. By then, wouldn't it be easy to convince him to marry you? 1 year later, 4. A visible tremble could be visibly seen across the lady's face. Back then, Chui God would give up Bai Yan for the sake of the celestial realm. Perhaps he would do the same and marry her if she helps save this world. Revered keepers, I will not cower or hide for the sake of this world. As long as she could marry Chui God before the calamity strikes, then even if it's only for a single night, she won't regret it. After dropping those words, Yun Ruoxi didn't wait and resigned herself for what's to come. Leaving the room, the lady didn't forget to close the door behind herself on this occasion. Meanwhile, back in the conference hall, the air has become eerily quiet again until Keeper Ling broke the silence. Everyone, our feud with the demon realm is unending, so having us go bargain for the deal is out of the question. I know only two who can handle such a task. Who? The Celestial Lord. That lass came to the Celestial Palace since she was young and grew up under the care of the Lord. If we have him go, then it will be a huge boon. The second is that crazy old coot. We can use him as well. Grumbling in his voice, Keeper Zun clearly didn't believe this would work based on his expression. And how do you expect us to persuade that old coot to do as we say? Don't think just because he's all crazy nowadays that he will do as we instruct. He understands a lot more than he lets on. Back then we only managed to go after that girl because we tricked him to go off somewhere. Otherwise the plan would have died in its infancy if he had found out. Sure enough, Keeper Ling didn't refute that claim and became quiet for a while. Then we have no choice but to rely on the Lord. He cares about the celestial realm, so he's our greatest candidate. Moreover, I know he still misses the lass from the hearts down. If we promise him to allow his marriage with Bai Yen, then I'm sure he will do as we say. This Keeper Zun actually became lost for words. Doesn't he hate the girl to the bone? Why would he give such a commitment? Keeper Ling obviously noticed the suspicious gaze coming his way. Smiling shadily, I'm only tricking the Lord. Once the calamity is over, I won't let a single one from the demon realm go. Rising from his chair, Keeper Zun sighs and showed a bittersweet smile on his face. Then I will go ahead and try to contact the Lord. For the sake of the big picture, we have no choice but to do this. Let's just hope that girl doesn't hate us anymore so we can do this without incident. Time flowed like water for Bai Yen, who had been on the Sky Mountain for well over a year by this point. She's grown much stronger since then, but despite hitting the peak of the middle divine stage, she's now at a bottleneck and couldn't progress any further. Mother, second brother is picking on me again. Right as Bai Yan's about to take a break, a cuddly and babyish voice calls out to her from the front. This child had a very tender face like a little peach, but those eyes were gorgeous and watery. Though her footwork left a lot to be desired still because of how unsteady she was walking, one could nevertheless tell she would one day grow up to be a fine beauty. Reaching down to pick up the precious little girl, she pinches that nose as a form of play. And how did your second brother pick on you this time? The fruits picked by little Foxy has been taken by him. I also want to eat the sour and sweet fruits. Even though Di Ling Yen girl was about to become 2 years old at the end of this year, she's nevertheless still a child, so it's normal for her to act like a baby. However, her words are already very mature and could hold proper conversations due to her royal lineage. 1 year later, 5. Her big eyes are watery and full of grievance when looking up at Bai Yen. Mama, second brother eats so much. He took all of the fruits little Foxy prepared for us. Woo-ho! I don't like second brother anymore. The way she said that was truly melting to the heart, because when she cried, the peachy-faced girl didn't forget to rub her eyes with those tiny hands. Be good, Ling Yen. We only need to have your little Foxy pick some more for you. Bai Yen cuddles her daughter some more to stop that weeping. Truly, of all the things that's occurred over the year, these 2 babies are her greatest joy and the driving force for removing the gloom hovering in her life due to her eldest's unchanging condition. Mama, I want big brother. Big brother? Suckling her own finger like a typical child, Ling Yan's voice was all milky and soft to the ear. I heard from Papa that big brother likes me the most. He will definitely not hog the fruits to himself. In the heart of this baby girl, those who take her food are all big baddies. A ripple plowed through Bai Yan's heart over the stark reminder. Aching in her voice, Ling Yan, let's go see your big brother then. I'm sure he will also like to have you accompany him, and I'm sure he will wake up soon if you keep talking to him. It's been so long already. Xiachen should be waking up soon. But before the mother and daughter pair could even make it all that far, the baby holding the woman's pinky to walk steadily, Di Ling Yen had already started to show signs of fatigue. Mama, carry, staring down at her own daughter. Your big brother could already walk very well by your age back then. How come you are so adverse to walking? Not getting it. Ling Yen continues to plead with those watery eyes. Mama, carry me. Like most mother, Bai Yen would often fall victim to this behavior from their own babies. However, before she could reach down to give the girl a lift, one of the animals nearby had already caved in and crouched down to give her a ride. Likewise, some of the other animals nearby also saw this and came over as well, which in kind made the woman go black in the face because it finally dawned on her. So that's why these 2 are unable to walk still. It's all because of these animals. They probably never once allowed them to touch the ground. Ling Yen, you must walk by yourself. Retracting her arms, she shifts her gaze over to the animals gathered around themselves with a warning look. And you bunch are not allowed to give her a ride from now on. She must learn to walk on her own. Understand? A quiver shook their hearts. Their heads hung lower as a result due to submission. But those pleading eyes of these animals indicated they didn't want to watch idly by while their baby girl struggled. There is no negotiation on this.